Ever find yourself tossing and turning at night, unable to shut off your racing thoughts? What if I told you that those very thoughts could be the key to unlocking a deeper, more restful sleep tonight? Over the next 2.5 hours, we're going to take you on a journey through your own mind, transforming those restless thoughts into powerful insights that'll not only help you drift off but might just change your life in the process. Stick around as we dive into the first life-changing thought that's guaranteed to shift your perspective on sleep. You know that feeling when you're finally ready to call it a night? You've settled into bed, and suddenly your brain decides it's the perfect time to replay every embarrassing moment from your life? Yeah, we've all been there. It's like our minds have a mischievous little gremlin that waits until we're trying to sleep to start throwing all sorts of thoughts at us. But here's the thing, it's not just you, and it's not just random. There's actually some pretty interesting science behind why our brains seem to go into overdrive, right when we're trying to shut them down. So picture this. You're lying in bed, eyes closed, and you start thinking about that important presentation you have tomorrow. You tell yourself, stop thinking about it, you need to sleep. But suddenly, that presentation is all you can focus on. It's like your brain is playing a twisted game of don't think about the pink elephant. The more you try not to think about something, the more it becomes the star of your mental show. This isn't just some weird coincidence, it's actually a psychological phenomenon called the ironic process theory. Basically, when we try really hard to suppress a thought, our brains kind of rebel against us. It's like telling a kid not to touch something they immediately want to touch it even more. Our brains work in a similar way. The act of trying to push a thought away actually makes it more prominent in our minds. So when we're lying in bed, desperately trying not to think about our to-do list or that awkward thing we said 5 years ago, we're actually making those thoughts stick around even longer. But it's not just about what we're trying not to think about. When we finally get to bed, it's often the first time all day that we're not bombarded with distractions. We're not scrolling through social media. We're not watching TV. We're not chatting with friends. It's just us and our thoughts. And for many of us, that's when our brain decides it's the perfect time to start processing all the stuff we've been too busy to think about during the day. Think about it during the day. We're usually moving from one task to another, barely having time to breathe, let alone reflect on our lives. But when we're lying in bed, suddenly we have all this mental space, and our brains, being the efficient little machines they are, see this as the perfect opportunity to start sorting through all the unresolved thoughts and feelings we've accumulated throughout the day. It's like our brain is saying, oh, you're not doing anything else right now? Great. Let's go through that argument you had with your coworker and analyze every single word that was said. Or maybe it decides to remind you of that embarrassing thing you did in high school that no one else even remembers. Our brains love to use this quiet time to bring up all sorts of memories, worries, and random thoughts. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Our brains are actually more active at night. Yeah, you read that right. Even though we're trying to wind down and get ready for sleep, our brains are ramping up their activity. It's like they're throwing a party right when we're trying to get them to settle down. This increased brain activity can make it even harder to quiet those racing thoughts. So you've got this perfect storm of factors. Your brain is more active, you're free from distractions, and the more you try to stop thinking, the more your thoughts seem to multiply. It's no wonder so many of us find ourselves staring at the ceiling, wide awake, when we should be drifting off to dreamland. But here's the thing. All of these racing thoughts aren't necessarily a bad thing. Sure, they can be annoying when you're trying to sleep, but they can also be the first step towards some pretty profound realizations about ourselves and our lives. Those thoughts that keep popping up? They might be trying to tell you something important. Maybe those work-related thoughts are a sign that you're not feeling fulfilled in your current job. Or those relationship worries might be pointing to some issues you need to address. Even those random memories from years ago might be helping you process and learn from past experiences. So instead of getting frustrated with our nighttime thought marathons, what if we tried to work with them? What if we saw them as an opportunity for self-reflection and growth? It's not about letting these thoughts keep us awake all night, but rather about acknowledging them and maybe even learning from them. Of course, this is easier said than done. When you're tired and just want to sleep, having a philosophical debate with your own brain isn't exactly appealing. But by understanding why our thoughts tend to race at night, we can start to develop strategies to work with our minds rather than against them. In the next section, we're going to explore some ways to do just that. we'll look at how we can use these nighttime thoughts as a starting point for personal growth and self-discovery. Because who knows, those pesky thoughts keeping you awake might just lead to some life-changing realizations. So we've been talking about how our minds can go into overdrive at night, but what if we flip the script? Instead of seeing this as a problem, what if we saw it as an opportunity? Think about it for a second. When else do you have uninterrupted time to really dive deep into your thoughts and feelings? It's like having a private consultation with yourself. And the best part? It's completely free. This idea of using nighttime for reflection isn't some new age concept. It's actually been a part of many cultures and spiritual practices for centuries. In fact, many indigenous cultures see the night as a sacred time for reflection and connection with ancestors. They use this quiet time for storytelling or just sitting in silence, allowing themselves to gain insights into their lives. It's like they've tapped into this secret nighttime wisdom that we've been missing out on. And it's not just indigenous cultures that are in on this secret. In some Buddhist traditions, practitioners use the quiet of the night for meditation and self-reflection. They're not trying to force their thoughts to stop. Instead, they're observing them without judgment. It's like watching a movie of your own mind, but instead of getting caught up in the plot, you're just noticing what's playing on the screen. This practice is often called mindfulness, and it's been shown to have some pretty amazing benefits for both mental and physical health. Research tells us that mindfulness can actually lead to a reduction in rumination. That's the fancy term for when your thoughts keep spinning in circles. By learning to observe your thoughts without getting attached to them, you can decrease all that mental chatter that typically keeps you tossing and turning. But here's where it gets really interesting. When we start to embrace our nighttime thoughts, we might find that they're actually trying to tell us something important. Maybe they're highlighting areas of our lives that need attention or changes we need to make. It's like your subconscious is using this quiet time to wave a big red flag and say, "Hey, pay attention to this." By learning to listen to these thoughts instead of fighting them, we can start to gain valuable insights into ourselves. It's like having a personal growth session every night. And the cool thing is, you don't need any special equipment or a therapist's couch. You've got everything you need right there in your bed. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't want to be up all night thinking. And that's fair. But here's the really interesting part. As we practice this kind of mindful reflection, we might find that our minds actually start to calm down on their own. It's like by giving our thoughts space to exist, they eventually run out of steam. This reflective process can lead to some pretty profound personal growth. When we allow ourselves to connect more deeply with our thoughts and feelings, we often uncover truths about ourselves that we've been too busy to notice during the day. Maybe you realize that you're not as happy in your job as you thought, or that there's a relationship in your life that needs some attention. These nighttime revelations can be the catalyst for some major positive changes in your life. And let's talk about emotional processing for a second. You know how sometimes you go to bed feeling all wound up about something that happened during the day? Well, this nighttime reflection can serve as a form of emotional processing. It's like giving your brain a chance to file away all the events of the day, sorting through your feelings and experiences. This can lead to a sense of closure, making you feel more ready for sleep. It's like tidying up your mental space before settling in for the night. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be easy right off the bat. Like any new skill, it takes practice. You might find yourself getting frustrated at first or feeling like your thoughts are even more out of control. But that's okay, it's all part of the process. The key is to be patient with yourself and remember that you're not trying to achieve some perfect state of zen. You're just giving yourself the space to exist with your thoughts. And here's a little secret. Sometimes, the most profound insights come from the thoughts that seem the most random or annoying. You know those nights when your brain decides to replay that embarrassing thing you did in 3rd grade? Instead of getting annoyed, try getting curious. Why is that memory coming up now? What might it be trying to tell you about your current life? Now that we've talked about making friends with our nighttime thoughts, let's explore what they might be trying to tell us. You know how sometimes when you're lying in bed, your mind starts racing through all the stuff that happened during the day. Maybe it's replaying that awkward conversation you had with your boss, or reminding you about that project deadline that's coming up way too fast. It's like your brain decides that bedtime is the perfect moment to review every single thing that went wrong or could go wrong. But here's the thing, Instead of trying to shove those thoughts away or getting frustrated that they're keeping you awake, what if we actually took a moment to listen to them? I know, it sounds counterintuitive. We're supposed to be relaxing and drifting off to sleep, not rehashing our daily struggles. But hear me out, because this could be a game changer for your sleep and your overall well-being. When we acknowledge our daily struggles, we're not just dwelling on the negative stuff. We're actually giving ourselves permission to feel what we're feeling. It's like we're saying, hey brain, I see you, I hear you. These things you're bringing up are important. And you know what? That simple act of acknowledgement can be incredibly powerful. Think about it this way. Have you ever had a friend who just wanted you to listen to their problems without trying to fix everything? Sometimes, all we need is someone to hear us out and validate our feelings. Well, in this case, you're being that friend to yourself. You're creating a safe space in your mind to process the day's events without judgment. Now, I'm not saying you should spend hours analyzing every little thing that went wrong. That's definitely not the path to a good night's sleep. But taking a few minutes to recognize and accept your struggles can actually help calm your mind. It's like you're telling your brain, okay, I've heard you. We can deal with this tomorrow. Often, just that acknowledgement is enough to help your mind let go and relax. Here's where it gets really interesting. Research has shown that unresolved daily stressors can have a huge impact on our sleep quality. They can lead to insomnia and other sleep disorders. So by facing these thoughts head-on, even if it's just for a few minutes before bed, we're actually taking a step towards better sleep. Experts recommend healthy ways to reflect on daily challenges, like journaling or practicing mindfulness. These techniques aren't about obsessing over problems, but about giving them space to exist. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. Suddenly, everything feels a bit clearer and easier to handle. And here's a cool thing that psychologists have noticed. When we acknowledge our struggles, we often find that they're not as overwhelming as they seemed at first. It's like shining a light on the monster under the bed. Once you see it clearly, it's usually not as scary as you thought. By facing our daily challenges in our thoughts, we start to take back some control. We might even start to see solutions or ways to cope that we hadn't noticed before. This process of acknowledgement can actually help us regain a sense of control over our thoughts. When we're lying in bed and our mind is racing, it can feel like we're at the mercy of our own brains. But by consciously choosing to acknowledge and reflect on our struggles, we're taking an active role in our thought process. We're no longer just passive observers of our racing minds. We're engaging with our thoughts in a productive way. Now, I'm not saying this is always easy. Sometimes our daily struggles can feel really big and overwhelming. But here's the thing. Acknowledging them is often the first step towards finding solutions or at least finding peace with the things we can't change. It's like taking a deep breath before diving into a pool. That moment of pause and preparation can make all the difference. And remember, this isn't about beating yourself up over things that went wrong or worrying about what might go wrong tomorrow. It's about giving yourself the space to process your experiences and emotions. Think of it as a kind of mental decluttering. You're sorting through the day's events, deciding what needs your attention and what you can let go of. This approach can be especially helpful if you find yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations or worrying about future events. Instead of trying to force those thoughts away, which often just makes them louder, you're giving them a moment in the spotlight. And often, once they've had their moment, they're more likely to quiet down and let you rest. Now that we've explored the power of acknowledging our thoughts, let's dive into something even more transformative. What if I told you there's a way to completely change how your nighttime worries affect you? It's like having a secret superpower that can turn those anxious thoughts into fuel for personal growth. This isn't some mystical mumbo-jumbo. It's a real psychological technique called cognitive reframing, and it might just revolutionize the way you think about your problems. So what exactly is cognitive reframing? Well, it's basically like giving your thoughts a makeover. Instead of letting negative ideas run wild in your mind, you take a step back and look at them from a different angle. It's kind of like when you're watching your favorite animated show, and suddenly you notice a hidden detail in the background that changes everything. That's what reframing does for your thoughts. It helps you see the bigger picture and find new meaning in your experiences. Let's say you're lying in bed, replaying an awkward conversation you had earlier in the day. Your brain keeps focusing on all the things you think you said wrong, and you're cringing so hard you can barely breathe. This is where reframing comes in handy. Instead of beating yourself up, you might ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Maybe you realize that you were nervous because you really care about making a good impression, which shows how much you value your relationships. Or perhaps you notice that you tend to overthink social interactions, and this could be a chance to practice being more present and less self-critical. The cool thing about reframing is that it's not about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. We're not trying to convince ourselves that the awkward conversation never happened, or that it was actually amazing. Instead, we're looking for the silver lining or the lesson hidden within the experience. It's like finding the one joke in a sad episode that makes you laugh despite the heavy themes. Research has shown that people who practice cognitive reframing tend to be more resilient and happier overall. This makes sense when you think about it. If you can find something positive or meaningful in even your toughest experiences, you're going to bounce back faster and feel better about life in general. It's like having a shield against negativity, but instead of deflecting bad thoughts, you're transforming them into something useful. The best part is that reframing is a skill you can develop over time. The more you practice, the better you get at it. It's like learning to draw your favorite cartoon character. At first, it might look a bit wonky, but with practice, you start to capture all the little details that make them unique. Similarly, as you get used to reframing your thoughts, you might find that you're able to do it more quickly and easily, even during stressful situations in your day-to-day life. This skill can be incredibly powerful, not just for helping us sleep, but for improving our overall quality of life. Imagine being able to take any challenge that comes your way and find an opportunity for growth within it. It's like having a secret weapon against stress and anxiety. You're not ignoring your problems, but you're approaching them with a mindset that's focused on solutions and personal development. So how can we start practicing reframing as we're lying in bed tonight? One way is to pick a thought that's been bothering you and try to look at it from 3 different perspectives. First, consider how a close friend might view the situation. They'd probably be a lot kinder to you than you are to yourself, right? Then, think about how this experience might benefit you in the long run. Maybe it's teaching you patience or resilience or how to communicate more effectively. Finally, imagine how you might look back on this moment 5 years from now. Chances are it won't seem nearly as significant as it does right now. Another technique is to play the what-if game with your thoughts. What if this challenge is actually preparing you for something amazing in the future? What if this setback is redirecting you towards a better path? What if this struggle is exactly what you need to become the person you want to be? By asking these questions, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and interpretations of our experiences. It's important to remember that reframing isn't about forcing positive thoughts or ignoring genuine problems. If you're dealing with serious issues, it's always a good idea to seek professional help. But for many of our day-to-day worries and stresses, reframing can be a powerful tool for shifting our perspective and finding peace of mind. Now that we've explored the power of reframing our thoughts, let's dive into something even more fascinating: the ripple effect this can have on our entire lives. You know how when you toss a pebble into a calm pond, it creates these expanding circles that spread out across the water? Well, that's kind of what happens when we start changing our thought patterns. At first, it might seem like we're just dealing with one specific worry or problem, but over time, we start to see changes in all sorts of unexpected areas of our lives. Let's take a moment to consider how this might play out. Imagine you've been lying awake at night, your mind racing with thoughts about a big presentation you have to give at work. You're worried about all the things that could go wrong. Maybe you'll forget what you want to say, or your coworkers will think your ideas are stupid. But then you remember what we've been talking about, and you decide to try reframing these thoughts. Instead of focusing on all the potential disasters, you start to see this presentation as an opportunity to share your ideas and maybe even inspire others. Now, this shift in perspective might help you sleep better that night, which is great in itself. But the effects don't stop there. The next day, you might find yourself feeling more confident and excited about the presentation. This positive attitude could lead to a better performance, which in turn could open up new opportunities at work. Maybe your boss notices your enthusiasm and decides to put you in charge of a new project. Or perhaps a colleague is inspired by your ideas and asks to collaborate with you on something. But here's where it gets really interesting. This newfound confidence doesn't just stay at work. It might spill over into your personal relationships too. Maybe you feel more comfortable speaking up in social situations, or you decide to finally ask out that person you've had a crush on for months. Or perhaps you feel inspired to take on new challenges in other areas of your life, like signing up for that art class you've always wanted to try. This isn't just speculation. There's actual research to back this up. Studies have shown that cognitive restructuring, which is the fancy term for what we're doing when we reframe our thoughts, can have some pretty amazing effects on our mental health and overall well-being. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Cognitive Therapy found that people who practiced cognitive restructuring experienced a 30% reduction in negative thought patterns over just a 3-month period. And this didn't just make them feel better in the moment. It led to improved overall life satisfaction. Real-life examples demonstrate this ripple effect in action. There have been cases where individuals who reframed their thoughts about work-related stress reported not only improved performance at their jobs, but also enhanced relationships with their colleagues and family members. It's like the positive energy they created at work followed them home and improved their personal lives too. One particularly inspiring case study highlighted a woman who faced a major setback. She lost her job. Now, this is the kind of situation that could easily send someone into a spiral of negative thoughts. But instead of viewing it as a disaster, she reframed it as an opportunity for growth. This shift in perspective led her to explore new career paths that aligned more closely with her passions. In the end, she successfully transitioned to a new career that brought her greater job satisfaction and personal fulfillment. What's really exciting about all of this is that these changes aren't just temporary. Cognitive restructuring has been linked to long-term behavioral changes. People who consistently apply these reframing techniques report sustained improvements in their emotional well-being and their ability to handle stress. It's like they've rewired their brains to be more resilient and positive. Of course, it's important to remember that this isn't about ignoring real problems or forcing yourself to be happy all the time. Life will always have its challenges, and it's okay to feel upset or worried sometimes. The goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts entirely, but to change our relationship with them. By reframing our thoughts, we're not denying that difficulties exist. We're just choosing to approach them in a way that's more constructive and empowering. So, as we practice reframing our thoughts, we're not just changing our minds in the moment. We're potentially changing the entire course of our lives. Each reframed thought is like a pebble dropped into the pond of our lives, creating ripples that can reach far beyond what we might initially expect. It's a powerful reminder of just how much influence our thoughts can have on our reality. As the night deepens and our thoughts start to drift, it's pretty common for our minds to wander towards the people in our lives. We've been exploring how our late-night musings can reveal a lot about ourselves, but now let's turn our attention to how these thoughts can shed light on our relationships. It's kind of fascinating how the quiet hours of the night can bring our connections with others into sharp focus. Think about it. During the day, we're often so caught up in the hustle and bustle that we don't always have time to really reflect on our interactions. But at night, when everything's calm and still, those conversations, interactions, and feelings we have about the people in our lives start to bubble up to the surface. It's like our brains are finally getting the chance to process all these social experiences we've had. For instance, you might find yourself replaying a conversation you had with a friend earlier in the day. Maybe you're wondering if you said the right thing or if there was something in their tone that you missed. Or perhaps you're thinking about your partner and realizing that you haven't had a proper chat in a while. These nighttime reflections can actually be pretty valuable. They're like little clues our subconscious is giving us about the state of our relationships. One interesting thing about these late-night thoughts is that they often point us towards the relationships that need a bit of attention. If you keep thinking about a disagreement you had with someone, it might be your brain's way of telling you that there's an unresolved issue there. It's not always comfortable to dwell on these things, but recognizing them can be the first step towards addressing them and potentially strengthening that relationship. On the flip side, sometimes these nighttime musings can make us realize that we're not spending enough time with the people who matter most to us. Maybe you find yourself thinking about an old friend you haven't seen in a while, or feeling a pang of guilt about not calling your parents as often as you'd like. These thoughts can serve as gentle reminders to reach out and nurture those important connections in our lives. The quiet of the night can also help us tap into our deeper feelings about our relationships, feelings we might not have time to acknowledge during the busy day. It's like the noise and distractions of daily life fall away, and we're left with the raw truth of how we really feel about the people in our lives. This can be a bit uncomfortable sometimes, especially if we realize that a relationship isn't fulfilling us the way we thought it was. But it can also be incredibly enlightening. This nighttime reflection time can be a great opportunity to think about what we really value in our relationships. Are we getting what we need from our connections with others? Are we giving enough in return? It's a chance to do a bit of a relationship audit, so to speak. Maybe you realize that you really appreciate friends who make you laugh, or that you value deep, meaningful conversations more than you thought. Understanding these preferences can help us nurture the relationships that truly fulfill us. It's also a chance to think about how we show up in our relationships. Are we being the kind of friend, partner, or family member we want to be? Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, we might realize that we've been a bit short-tempered with our partner lately, or that we haven't been as supportive of a friend as we could be. These realizations, while sometimes uncomfortable, give us the opportunity to make positive changes in how we interact with others. Interestingly, these nighttime reflections on our relationships can also help us recognize when it might be time to let go of certain connections. Sometimes we might find ourselves constantly worrying or feeling anxious about a particular relationship. If this is a pattern that keeps repeating night after night, it might be a sign that this relationship is no longer serving us in a positive way. It's not always easy to acknowledge this, but recognizing it can be the first step towards making healthier choices in our social lives. One thing to keep in mind is that these nighttime thoughts about our relationships aren't always accurate or rational. Sometimes the quiet and darkness can amplify our worries or insecurities. So while it's good to pay attention to these thoughts, it's also important to balance them with a more objective daytime perspective. Maybe that thing your friend said that's been bothering you all night isn't as big a deal in the light of day. Or perhaps that worry about your relationship status isn't as pressing as it seemed at 2 a.m. By paying attention to these nighttime thoughts about our relationships, we can gain some pretty valuable insights. They can help us strengthen our connections, address issues we've been avoiding, and maybe even let go of relationships that no longer serve us. It's like we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at our social world, courtesy of our late-night brain. Ever notice how sometimes the most random things stick in your mind as you're trying to fall asleep? That billboard you drove past or a snippet of conversation you overheard at lunch? What if I told you these aren't just mental clutter, but actually important messages from your subconscious? As we drift deeper into the night, our thoughts often wander to these seemingly insignificant moments from our day. At first glance, they might not seem like much, but there's a good chance they hold more meaning than we realize. Think about it. Our brains are constantly taking in information throughout the day, way more than we can consciously process. So when things quiet down at night, it's like our subconscious mind is finally getting a chance to speak up and say, "Hey, remember that thing you saw earlier? Maybe you should take another look at that." It's pretty wild when you think about it. Our own minds are leaving us little breadcrumbs to follow, guiding us towards insights we might have otherwise missed. Let's break it down with some examples. Say you're lying in bed and suddenly you remember a conversation you overheard at the coffee shop. Two strangers were talking about a career change, and for some reason, that snippet of dialogue is replaying in your head. Now, this might seem random, but what if it's actually resonating with a challenge you're facing in your own life? Maybe you've been feeling stuck in your job, and this overheard conversation is your brain's way of nudging you to consider new possibilities. Or maybe you keep thinking about a billboard you saw on your commute. It was advertising a new gym, nothing special, but the slogan "Transform Your Life" is stuck in your head. This could be your subconscious picking up on a desire for change or self-improvement that you haven't fully acknowledged yet. It's like your brain is saying, "Hey, remember that billboard? Maybe it's time we think about making some changes." And then there's that song that played on the radio. You've heard it 100 times before, but tonight, the lyrics are really hitting home. It's possible that the emotion in that song is speaking to something you've been struggling to express. Your subconscious might be using this familiar tune to help you process feelings you've been having trouble putting into words. This process of finding meaning in everyday experiences is something psychologists call meaning-making, and it can be a really powerful tool for personal growth and self-understanding. It's like we're all detectives solving the mystery of our own lives, piecing together clues from our daily experiences. And the cool thing is, anyone can do this. You don't need any special training or equipment, just a willingness to pay attention and get a little curious about what's going on in your own head. So how do we actually do this? Well, it starts with paying attention. The next time you find yourself fixating on a seemingly random moment from your day, instead of brushing it off, try to approach it with curiosity. Ask yourself, why might this be sticking with me? What could it be trying to tell me? You might be surprised at the insights you uncover. For example, maybe you keep thinking about a coworker's new haircut. On the surface, this seems pretty trivial. But if you dig a little deeper, you might realize that what's really sticking with you is how confident they seemed after the change. This could be your subconscious, pointing out that you've been feeling a bit stagnant lately and might benefit from making a change in your own life. Or perhaps you can't stop thinking about a documentary you caught a glimpse of while channel surfing. It was about marine biology, something you've never been particularly interested in before. But now, you can't stop wondering about the mysteries of the ocean. This could be your brain's way of telling you that you're craving more wonder and exploration in your life, or maybe even hinting at a new passion you haven't discovered yet. It's important to remember that this isn't about forcing meaning where there isn't any. Not every stray thought is going to lead to a profound revelation. Sometimes a random thought is just a random thought. But by approaching these nighttime musings with an open and curious mind, you're creating space for meaningful insights to emerge. This practice can be especially valuable when it comes to problem solving. Often, our subconscious mind is working on problems in the background, even when we're not actively thinking about them. So those random thoughts that pop up at night might actually be your brain offering up solutions or new perspectives on challenges you're facing. For instance, you might find yourself thinking about a painting you saw in a shop window earlier that day. As you mull it over, you realize that the color scheme would be perfect for the project you've been stuck on at work. Your subconscious made a connection that your conscious mind missed during the busyness of the day. Or maybe you keep replaying a joke your friend told at lunch. It wasn't even that funny at the time, but now you can't stop thinking about it. This could be your brain's way of telling you that you need more laughter and lightness in your life, especially if you've been feeling stressed or overwhelmed lately. The beauty of this practice is that it can lead to a deeper understanding of yourself and your inner world. By paying attention to these seemingly random thoughts and finding the meaning behind them, you're essentially learning to speak your subconscious mind's language. Over time, this can lead to greater self-awareness, more intuitive decision-making, and a richer, more nuanced understanding of your own experiences. As the night deepens and our minds start to wander, it's not uncommon for our thoughts to drift towards our dreams and aspirations. You might find yourself thinking about that novel you've always wanted to write, the business idea you've been mulling over, or even that dream vacation you've been planning for years. These nighttime musings about our deepest desires can actually be incredibly valuable. They're like windows into our true selves, revealing what we really want out of life. During the day, we're often so caught up in our responsibilities and routines that we don't give much thought to our deeper aspirations. We're busy with work, errands, and social obligations, leaving little time for introspection. But in the quiet of the night, when all the distractions are stripped away, our true desires have a chance to surface. It's like our subconscious mind is finally getting a chance to speak up and be heard. This can be both exciting and a little scary. Maybe you realize that your current career path isn't really aligned with what you truly want to do. Or perhaps you discover that you've been letting fear hold you back from pursuing your dreams. These revelations can be uncomfortable, but they're also incredibly important. They're like signposts pointing us towards a more fulfilling life. One interesting thing about these nighttime reflections on our dreams and aspirations is that they often reveal desires we didn't even know we had. You might find yourself thinking about learning a new language or taking up painting, even though you've never really considered these things before. This is your subconscious mind bringing to light interests and passions that have been buried beneath the surface of your everyday thoughts. It's also worth noting that these aspirations don't always have to be big, life-changing goals. Sometimes they can be smaller desires that still have the potential to bring more joy and fulfillment into our lives. Maybe you realize you want to spend more time in nature, or that you'd like to reconnect with an old friend. These seemingly small aspirations can have a big impact on our overall happiness and well-being. One of the really cool things about paying attention to these nighttime thoughts is that it can help us start to align our daily lives with our true desires. When we become aware of what we really want, we can start taking steps towards making it happen. Even if they're just small steps at first, they can lead to big changes over time. For example, if you find yourself consistently dreaming about starting your own business, you might start by doing some research or taking an online course in entrepreneurship. If you're always thinking about traveling to a specific country, you could start learning the language or saving a little money each month for the trip. These small actions can help build momentum and bring you closer to realizing your dreams. It's also important to remember that our dreams and aspirations can change over time. What you wanted 5 years ago might not be what you want now, and that's okay. By regularly tuning into these nighttime thoughts, we can stay connected with our current desires and adjust our goals accordingly. Sometimes, our nighttime reflections on our dreams can bring up feelings of regret or frustration. We might think about all the time we've wasted or opportunities we've missed. But instead of getting caught up in these negative emotions, we can use them as motivation to make changes in our lives. It's never too late to pursue a new dream or change direction. Another interesting aspect of these nighttime musings is that they often reveal connections between different areas of our lives. You might start thinking about a career change and then realize that it's connected to a deeper desire for more creative expression or a better work-life balance. These insights can help us make more holistic changes that improve multiple aspects of our lives at once. It's also worth noting that sometimes our nighttime thoughts about our dreams and aspirations can seem unrealistic or even silly. But it's important not to dismiss these thoughts too quickly. Often, these seemingly impossible dreams can be clues pointing us towards more achievable goals. For example, a dream about becoming a famous rock star might actually be revealing a desire for more creative expression in your life, which could be fulfilled through taking music lessons or joining a local band. So tonight, as thoughts of your dreams and aspirations float through your mind, try to really listen to them. Don't judge or dismiss them, just observe. They might just be pointing you towards your true path in life. And remember, acknowledging these desires is the first step towards making them a reality. By paying attention to these thoughts, we can start to get a clearer picture of what we really want in life. And once we know what we want, we can start taking steps towards making it happen. As we drift deeper into the night, our thoughts about dreams and aspirations might start to shift. What if those persistent ideas nagging at you aren't just random musings, but important messages from your subconscious? These nighttime revelations could be the key to unlocking significant positive changes in your life. It's natural to feel a bit uneasy when thoughts of change start creeping in, especially when you're lying in bed surrounded by darkness. But here's the thing, that resistance you're feeling, it's actually pretty common. Psychologists have found that resistance to change is a widespread phenomenon, and it's often rooted in our fear of the unknown and our discomfort with uncertainty. When we're faced with the possibility of change, our brains can go into overdrive, trying to protect us from potential threats. This can lead to all sorts of avoidance behaviors and even cognitive dissonance, where we struggle to reconcile our current state with the potential changes we're facing. But here's where it gets interesting. Research shows that people who are more open to change tend to experience greater personal growth and adaptability. There was this study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that found individuals who embrace change are more likely to develop resilience and cope effectively with stressors in their lives. So those nighttime thoughts about change? They might actually be trying to guide you towards a more resilient and adaptable version of yourself. Now, you might be wondering how to tell if these thoughts about change are actually worth listening to. Well, experts suggest that recognizing the signs that change is necessary can be crucial for personal development. Psychologists recommend practicing self-reflection and mindfulness to help identify areas in your life that might need a shakeup. By being more attuned to your thoughts and feelings, you can start to distinguish between random mental chatter and genuine insights from your subconscious. Of course, the idea of making big changes in your life can feel overwhelming, especially when you're trying to fall asleep. But here's a comforting thought. Change doesn't always have to be drastic. Research shows that even minor adjustments in daily routines or perspectives can lead to significant improvements in overall well-being. So instead of feeling pressured to completely overhaul your life, You can start by focusing on small, achievable goals that can lead to larger transformations over time. This incremental approach to change has a couple of benefits. First, it helps reduce the anxiety that often comes with significant life changes. When you break things down into smaller steps, it feels more manageable and less scary. Second, it gives you a sense of accomplishment as you tick off those small goals, which reinforces positive behavior and motivates you to keep going. Let's say you've been having recurring thoughts about changing careers. Instead of immediately quitting your job and diving into the unknown, you could start by researching different fields that interest you, or taking an online course to explore a new skill. These small steps can help you gauge your interest and aptitude without the pressure of a full-blown career change right away. Another example might be if you're constantly thinking about improving your relationships. You don't need to dramatically cut people out of your life or have intense confrontations. Instead, you could start by making a conscious effort to be more present in your conversations, or setting aside dedicated time for the people who matter most to you. These small shifts can lead to significant improvements in your connections over time. The key to embracing these nighttime revelations about change is to approach them with curiosity rather than fear. Instead of immediately dismissing thoughts of change as unwelcome intruders, try to welcome them as wise messengers. Your subconscious mind might be picking up on subtle cues and patterns that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. By listening to these thoughts with an open mind, you're giving yourself the opportunity to align your life more closely with your true desires and values. It's also worth noting that embracing change doesn't mean you have to act on every fleeting thought that crosses your mind at 2 a.m. The goal is to create a practice of self-reflection and mindfulness that allows you to sift through these thoughts and identify the ones that truly resonate with your core values and aspirations. Over time, you'll likely find that you become more adept at recognizing which nighttime revelations are worth pursuing and which ones are just passing fancies. As we drift deeper into the night, our thoughts often turn to those moments from our past that we wish we could change. You know the ones. Those decisions we regret, the mistakes we've made, the what-ifs that keep playing on repeat in our minds. It's so easy to get caught up in this mental time travel, replaying scenarios and imagining how things could have been different if we'd just done this or said that. But here's the thing. While it's totally natural to have regrets, constantly dwelling on them can actually do more harm than good. Think about it. How many times have you lost sleep over something that happened years ago? It turns out, this habit of ruminating on past mistakes can seriously impact our mental health and even our physical well-being. Research has shown that people who frequently dwell on their regrets experience poorer sleep quality and higher levels of insomnia. It's like our brains just won't shut off, constantly rehashing old scenarios instead of letting us rest. But what if there was a way to break free from this cycle? What if, instead of seeing these thoughts as a source of pain and sleepless nights, we could view them as opportunities for growth and self? Forgiveness? It might sound a bit out there, but hear me out. Every mistake, every regret, is actually a lesson in disguise. It's showing us something about ourselves or the world that we needed to learn. Take it from Dr. Fred Luskin, a leading expert in forgiveness. He says that practicing self-forgiveness can significantly reduce feelings of regret and promote emotional well-being. It's not about pretending the mistake never happened or letting ourselves off the hook. Instead, it's about recognizing our own humanity and understanding that everyone makes mistakes. We're all just trying our best, even when our best doesn't quite cut it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Easier said than done, right? Letting go of regrets isn't like flipping a switch. It's more like a journey, one that requires time and practice. But each time we choose to release a regret, we're freeing up energy for the present and future. It's like decluttering your mental space, making room for new experiences and opportunities. One technique that can help in this process is visualization. Imagine your regrets as physical objects. Maybe they're heavy stones you've been carrying around. Now, picture yourself standing by a peaceful stream. As you acknowledge each regret, see yourself gently placing the stone in the water and watching it float away. This might sound a bit woo-woo, but visualization techniques like this can actually help us process our feelings and move forward. It gives us a sense of control over our emotional state. Another powerful tool in letting go of regrets is journaling. Writing about our past experiences allows us to reflect and gain clarity on our feelings. It's like having a conversation with ourselves, but on paper. This process can lead to some pretty amazing insights that promote healing and personal growth. You might be surprised at what comes out when you start putting pen to paper. But here's the real kicker. The act of letting go isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It can have some serious long-term benefits for our mental health. A study published in the journal Emotion found that people who practice self-compassion report lower levels of rumination and greater emotional resilience. In other words, being kind to ourselves about our past mistakes can actually make us stronger and better equipped to handle future challenges. Now, I'm not saying you should just forget about everything that's happened in your past. That's not what letting go is about. Instead, it's about choosing to learn from our experiences and move forward. It's about acknowledging the lesson without getting stuck in the pain of the memory. As we lie here in the quiet of the night, we can practice this letting go. Take a deep breath and think about a regret that's been weighing on you. Now, imagine it floating away like a leaf on a stream. It might not disappear completely, but see it getting smaller and less significant as it drifts away. Remember, every moment we spend dwelling on the past is a moment we're not fully living in the present or planning for the future. As we continue our nighttime journey, we might start to notice patterns in our thoughts. Certain themes or ideas keep coming up, and it's not just random chatter. These recurring thoughts can actually tell us a lot about our values, the things that are truly important to us. Maybe you find yourself constantly thinking about your family or your career or making a difference in the world. These thoughts are like clues pointing us towards what really matters to us. Our values are the compass that guides our decisions and actions, even if we're not always consciously aware of them. They're the underlying principles that shape our choices and behaviors. By paying attention to our nighttime thoughts, we can start to get a clearer picture of what our values really are. This self-awareness can be incredibly powerful, helping us make decisions that are more aligned with who we truly are. For example, if you realize that creativity is a core value for you, you might prioritize making time for artistic pursuits in your life. Or if you notice that you're always thinking about ways to help others, you might recognize that altruism is a key part of your personal code. Understanding our values can also help us navigate conflicts and difficult decisions. We can ask ourselves, which choice is most in line with my values? But how do we actually identify these values from our nighttime musings? One way is to look for recurring themes or emotions. If you find yourself consistently feeling excited or energized when thinking about a particular topic, that's a good indication it's tied to one of your core values. Similarly, if you notice a sense of frustration or dissatisfaction when reflecting on certain aspects of your life, it might be a sign that those areas aren't aligning with your values. Another approach is to pay attention to the what-if scenarios that play out in your mind. Do you often imagine yourself in a different career? That could be your subconscious telling you that professional growth or fulfillment is a key value for you. Or maybe you frequently picture yourself surrounded by loved ones. This might indicate that family and relationships are central to your value system. It's also worth noting that our values can evolve over time. What was incredibly important to us in our youth might not hold the same weight as we get older, and that's okay. Our nighttime thoughts can be a great way to check in with ourselves and see if our current life choices still align with our evolving values. Sometimes, our nighttime reflections might reveal conflicts between different values we hold. For instance, you might value both career success and work-life balance, but find these competing in your thoughts. Recognizing these conflicts can be the first step in finding ways to balance or prioritize our values more effectively. It's important to remember that there's no right or wrong when it comes to personal values. What matters to one person might not be as significant to another, and that's perfectly fine. The key is to identify and understand your own unique set of values, as these will be your guide in making decisions that lead to a more fulfilling life. As you lie in bed tonight, try to observe your thoughts without judgment. What topics keep coming up? What scenarios do you imagine? What brings you a sense of excitement or contentment? These are all potential clues to your core values. You might even want to keep a notebook by your bed to jot down any insights that come to you. Over time, you might start to see patterns emerge. Once you've identified some of your key values, you can start using this knowledge to make more intentional choices in your daily life. This doesn't mean you have to make drastic changes overnight. Small, consistent actions that align with your values can lead to significant positive changes over time. For instance, if you realize that learning and growth are important values for you, you might start setting aside a few minutes each day to read about a new topic or practice a new skill. If connection with nature is a core value, you could make an effort to spend more time outdoors, even if it's just a short walk during your lunch break. Understanding your values can also help you communicate better with others. When you're clear about what's important to you, it becomes easier to express your needs and boundaries. This can lead to more authentic relationships and reduced conflict in both personal and professional settings. As the night deepens and our thoughts wander, we often find ourselves dwelling on the challenges that seem insurmountable during the day. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by these obstacles, seeing them as nothing but sources of stress and pain. But what if we could shift our perspective? What if we could view these challenges not as burdens but as opportunities for growth? This idea isn't just wishful thinking. It's actually backed by research in a field called post-traumatic growth. This concept refers to the positive psychological changes that can occur as a result of adversity, trauma, or significant life challenges. Studies have shown that individuals who go through difficult experiences often report increased resilience, improved relationships, and a greater appreciation for life. Now, this doesn't mean we should be happy about our difficulties, but it does suggest that we can approach them with a sense of curiosity and openness. As we lie here in the quiet of the night, we can ask ourselves, what is this challenge trying to teach me? How can I use this experience to become stronger, wiser, or more compassionate? Let's look at an example. Maybe you're dealing with a difficult project at work. It's keeping you up at night, causing stress and anxiety. But what if we reframe this? This project could be teaching you about your resilience and problem-solving skills. It's giving you a chance to prove to yourself just how capable you are when faced with a tough situation. Or perhaps you're wrestling with a conflict with a friend. It's painful and uncomfortable, but it's also showing you the importance of clear communication. This experience could be helping you develop better interpersonal skills that will serve you well in all your relationships. A study published in the Journal of Traumatic Stress found something really interesting about this kind of reframing. They discovered that individuals who actively reframe their challenges as opportunities for growth were more likely to report higher levels of life satisfaction and lower levels of distress. This suggests that the way we interpret our challenges can significantly impact our mental health and overall well-being. Psychologist Richard Tedeschi, who has extensively studied post-traumatic growth, puts it this way: the experience of trauma can lead to a reevaluation of priorities, a deeper appreciation for life, and a stronger sense of personal strength. This highlights the potential for challenges to serve as catalysts for personal development. But how do we actually do this? How do we take our challenges and turn them into opportunities for growth? One way is through a process called meaning-making. This involves reflecting on the lessons learned from difficult experiences and integrating those insights into our life narrative. Research has shown that individuals who engage in this process tend to experience greater psychological resilience. Another approach is to practice gratitude and reflection. A study in the field of positive psychology found that individuals who did this reported improved emotional well-being and a greater sense of purpose. This suggests that actively engaging with our difficulties can lead to transformative experiences. The concept of resilience is closely tied to this ability to reframe challenges. Resilient individuals often view setbacks as temporary and surmountable, which allows them to bounce back more effectively from adversity. By adopting this mindset, we can start to see our challenges as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. In the context of personal growth, reframing challenges can lead to a more profound understanding of ourselves and our values. This process often involves asking reflective questions like, what can I learn from this experience? And how can this challenge contribute to my personal development? These questions can help us extract meaningful lessons from even the most difficult situations. It's important to note that this isn't about forcing positive thoughts or ignoring genuine problems. It's about finding a balance between acknowledging the difficulty of a situation and recognizing its potential for growth. Sometimes the wisdom we gain from our challenges is subtle and takes time to reveal itself. Other times, it can be a powerful aha moment that shifts our entire perspective. As we continue our nighttime reflections, we can start to see patterns in our challenges. Maybe we notice that we often struggle with setting boundaries, or that we have a tendency to avoid confrontation. Recognizing these patterns can be the first step towards making positive changes in our lives. Remember, every challenge we overcome adds to our wisdom and strength, preparing us for whatever life brings next. By looking for the lessons in our difficulties, we can transform them from sources of stress into catalysts for personal growth. This doesn't mean the process will be easy or painless, but it does mean that our struggles have the potential to make us stronger, more resilient, and more in tune with ourselves and the world around us. As we approach the end of our nighttime journey, our thoughts might start to drift towards the things we're grateful for. Now you might be thinking, gratitude? When I'm lying awake at night worrying? But hear me out, because this shift in perspective could be the key to unlocking better sleep and a more positive outlook. Practicing gratitude, especially during difficult times, can be incredibly powerful. It's not about ignoring our problems or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about recognizing that even in the midst of challenges, there are things to appreciate. Maybe it's the comfort of your warm bed, the sound of rain outside, or the knowledge that you have people who care about you. These small moments of appreciation can have a big impact on our overall well-being. What's really interesting is that science backs up the power of gratitude. A study published in the journal Psychological Science found that people who kept gratitude journals reported better sleep quality and increased feelings of well-being compared to those who didn't engage in gratitude practices. It's like gratitude is this secret weapon we've had all along, just waiting to be used. But here's where it gets even cooler. Practicing gratitude can actually change your brain chemistry. It increases levels of dopamine and serotonin, which are neurotransmitters associated with feelings of happiness and well-being. This biochemical shift can help reduce stress and anxiety, making it easier to relax and fall asleep. It's like giving your brain a natural happiness boost, and the benefits don't stop there. Research shows that gratitude can act as a buffer against negative emotions and stress. A study in the journal Emotion found that people who practiced gratitude reported lower levels of depression and anxiety. So not only does gratitude help you sleep better, but it also helps you feel better overall. Now, you might be wondering how to start practicing gratitude, especially when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. The good news is that it can be really simple. One easy way is to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for each day. This exercise can shift your focus from stressors to positive aspects of your life, fostering a more optimistic mindset. And the best part? The more you practice gratitude, the more you train your brain to notice positive aspects of your life. It's like building a gratitude muscle that gets stronger over time. This doesn't mean you have to feel grateful for your problems. Instead, you can be grateful for the strength you're developing as you face them. Maybe you're learning patience, resilience, or compassion through your challenges. These are all valuable qualities that can serve you well in the future. As we lie here in the quiet of the night, we can try this simple exercise. Think of 3 things you're grateful for right now, no matter how small they might seem. It could be the softness of your pillow, the taste of the tea you had earlier, or the fact that you made it through another day. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about what feels meaningful to you. What's really fascinating is how practicing gratitude can create a ripple effect in your life. It's not just about feeling better in the moment. It can actually improve your relationships too. A study in the journal Personal Relationships found that expressing gratitude towards others can strengthen social bonds and increase feelings of connection. So by practicing gratitude, you're not only improving your own well-being, but potentially enhancing your relationships as well. It's important to note that gratitude isn't about comparing ourselves to others or feeling guilty for what we have. It's about recognizing and appreciating the good in our lives, no matter how big or small. And the beauty of this practice is that it becomes easier and more natural over time. The more you look for things to be grateful for, the more you'll find. As we near the end of our nighttime reflections, remember that gratitude is a powerful tool that's always available to us. It doesn't cost anything, it doesn't require any special equipment, and you can practice it anytime, anywhere. Whether you're dealing with insomnia, stress, or just want to improve your overall well-being, incorporating gratitude into your nightly routine could be a game changer. As we approach the final stage of our nighttime journey, we find ourselves face to face with a profound realization. Throughout our reflections, we've explored the depths of our minds, confronting our fears, examining our dreams, and reframing our challenges. But now, as the night sky begins to lighten, we come to understand that underlying all of these introspections is a fundamental truth: the importance of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance isn't about giving up on personal growth or improvement. Instead, it's about approaching our journey of self-discovery and development from a place of compassion rather than harsh criticism. It's recognizing that we're all works in progress, with our own unique blend of strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures. And it's understanding that all of these elements, both the good and the bad, contribute to making us who we are. When we truly accept ourselves, flaws and all, we create a sense of inner peace that can carry us through even the most challenging times. This doesn't mean we ignore our shortcomings or stop striving to be better. Rather, it means we acknowledge our imperfections without letting them define us or hold us back. We can work on improving ourselves while still appreciating who we are in the present moment. Interestingly, this self-acceptance can also have a positive impact on our sleep. When we're not lying awake at night, beating ourselves up over every little mistake or perceived flaw, we're more likely to drift off peacefully. Instead of engaging in endless self-criticism, we can use those quiet moments before sleep to practice self-compassion and reinforce our sense of self-worth. As we lie here in the stillness of the night, we can begin to practice this self-acceptance. It can be as simple as saying to ourselves, "I am who I am, and that's enough." This simple affirmation acknowledges our whole self, without judgment or conditions. It's a powerful reminder that we don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love, respect, and acceptance, starting with our own. Of course, like any meaningful change, self-acceptance isn't something we achieve overnight. It's a journey, a practice that we need to return to again and again. Each night, as we reflect on our thoughts and experiences, we have the opportunity to reinforce this acceptance. We can acknowledge our achievements without letting them inflate our ego, and we can recognize our mistakes without letting them deflate our self-worth. This practice of self-acceptance can have far-reaching effects on our lives. When we accept ourselves, we're often better equipped to accept others, leading to improved relationships and a greater sense of connection with those around us. We become more resilient in the face of criticism or setbacks, because our sense of self isn't dependent on external validation or constant success. Moreover, self-acceptance can free up mental and emotional energy that we might otherwise spend on self-doubt or self-criticism. This newfound energy can be channeled into pursuits that truly matter to us, whether that's creative endeavors, personal goals, or making a positive impact on our communities. As we've explored throughout our nighttime journey, our minds are incredibly powerful tools. They can keep us awake with worry, but they can also lead us to profound insights and transformative realizations. By embracing self-acceptance, we're essentially making peace with our own minds. We're saying, "I hear you, I acknowledge you, and I accept you" to all parts of ourselves, even the parts we might previously have tried to ignore or change. This doesn't mean we become complacent or stop setting goals for ourselves. Instead, it means that we pursue growth and change from a foundation of self-love and acceptance, rather than from a place of self-loathing or dissatisfaction. We can still strive to be better versions of ourselves, but we do so with kindness and understanding, recognizing that we're valuable and worthy just as we are. As the night draws to a close and sleep beckons, we can take comfort in this newfound acceptance. We can let go of the need to be perfect, to have all the answers, or to meet everyone's expectations. Instead, we can simply be. We can rest in the knowledge that we are complex, multifaceted beings with our own unique strengths and challenges, and that's not just okay. It's beautiful. As we embrace our beautiful complexity, we stand at the threshold of an even more fascinating journey. What if the thoughts we have right before falling asleep could shape not just our dreams, but our waking reality? Research suggests this might be more than just a comforting idea. It could be a powerful tool for transformation. We've spent our night exploring the depths of our minds, reframing our perspectives, and uncovering valuable insights about ourselves and our lives. Now, as we prepare to drift off into sleep, we have a unique opportunity to plant seeds of positive change in our subconscious mind. It's like we're standing at the edge of a dream, ready to take that final step into a world of infinite possibilities. Research has shown that the thoughts we have as we fall asleep can have a significant impact on our dreams and even our mood the next day. A study published in the journal Sleep found that people who used positive visualization techniques before bed reported more positive dream content and woke up in a better mood. This is pretty cool when you think about it. We have the power to influence our dreams and set the tone for the next day, all with our thoughts as we drift off. So instead of worrying about tomorrow's to-do list or replaying today's events, we can focus on positive intentions for the future. Maybe it's visualizing ourselves handling a challenging situation with confidence, or imagining the steps we'll take towards a goal we've been putting off. According to a study in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, people who practiced visualization before sleep actually performed better in related tasks the following day. This suggests that these pre-sleep thoughts can shape our subconscious mind's focus and potentially improve our real-world performance. We can also take a moment to revisit the moments of gratitude and self-acceptance we've cultivated throughout our nighttime reflections. By reinforcing these positive thoughts and feelings as we fall asleep, we're essentially giving our subconscious mind a positive framework to work with during the night. Dr. Matthew Walker, a sleep scientist, emphasizes the importance of our final thoughts before sleep. He states, "The last thoughts you have before you fall asleep can set the tone for your dreams and the quality of your sleep." Engaging in gratitude or positive affirmations can create a more restful state of mind. This expert advice aligns with what we've been exploring throughout our journey: the power of our thoughts to shape our experiences. As our thoughts become hazier and sleep begins to take over, we can let go of the need to analyze or control our thoughts. This is where things get really interesting. Research suggests that mindfulness practices, which encourage acceptance of thoughts without judgment, can lead to deeper and more restorative sleep. It's like we're giving our mind permission to wander and explore freely, trusting that it will continue its work even as we sleep. One simple yet powerful technique we can use as we drift off is to focus on our breath. The act of focusing on our breath as a means to promote relaxation before sleep has been shown to enhance sleep onset and quality. A study published in the journal Health Psychology found that people who practiced breath-focused meditation experienced reduced insomnia symptoms and improved overall sleep quality. So as we lie here, feeling the gentle rise and fall of our chest, we're not just relaxing, we're actively improving the quality of our sleep. It's important to remember that this process doesn't have to be perfect. Some nights, our minds might be more active than others, and that's okay. The key is to approach this practice with gentleness and patience, just as we've learned to approach ourselves throughout our nighttime journey of self-reflection. As we continue to breathe deeply and allow our thoughts to soften, we might find ourselves drifting between wakefulness and sleep. This liminal space, often called the hypnagogic state, can be a particularly fertile ground for creativity and insight. Many artists and inventors throughout history have reported receiving their best ideas during this transitional period. So if a sudden idea or solution pops into your mind as you're falling asleep, don't be surprised. It's just your subconscious mind doing its thing. With each breath, we can imagine ourselves sinking deeper into relaxation, letting go of any remaining tension or worries. We've done the work of exploring our thoughts and feelings, and now it's time to trust in the process of rest and renewal that sleep brings. As we drift closer to sleep, we carry with us the wisdom we've gained throughout our nighttime reflections. We've learned to reframe our challenges, practice gratitude, and accept ourselves more fully. These insights don't disappear when we fall asleep. They become part of us, informing our dreams and shaping our subconscious processes throughout the night. Remember, each night is a new opportunity for reflection, growth, and renewal. As we finally let go and allow sleep to take over, we can trust that our mind will continue its work, processing our experiences and preparing us to face a new day with fresh perspective and renewed purpose. Now, picture a tiny seed nestled in the soil, seemingly insignificant but holding immense potential. This little seed represents the start of our journey, a beginning full of untapped possibilities waiting to be explored. We all start out like this seed, small and unassuming, but with the capacity to grow into something truly magnificent. The question is, how do we unlock this potential and transform into the best version of ourselves? This seed embodies our core essence, the fundamental aspects of who we are at our very center. It's like a blueprint for our future selves, containing all the information needed to grow into a unique and beautiful individual. Just as a seed carries genetic information that determines what kind of plant it will become, we too have inherent qualities that shape our potential. But here's the thing. A seed needs the right conditions to sprout and thrive. It requires nutrient-rich soil, adequate water, and sunlight to begin its journey of growth. In the same way, we need the right environment to flourish and reach our full potential. This environment isn't just about our physical surroundings, though. That's certainly important. It's also about the people we surround ourselves with, the experiences we seek out, and the mindset we cultivate. Our genetic makeup, early experiences, and innate talents form the foundation of our potential. These are like the seed's initial resources, providing us with a starting point for our growth. Maybe we're naturally creative, or we have a knack for problem solving. Perhaps we're empathetic and good at connecting with others. These inherent qualities are the first leaves that sprout from our seed, giving us a glimpse of what we might become. But it's not just about what we're born with. It's about how we nurture and develop ourselves over time. A seed doesn't become a mighty oak overnight. It takes years of steady growth, adapting to its environment, and overcoming challenges. Similarly, our potential isn't something that's fully realized in an instant. It's a lifelong process of learning, experimenting, and pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones. The seed teaches us an important lesson about patience. Growth takes time and can't be rushed. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the desire for instant results. We want to see immediate progress, to become successful overnight. But that's not how nature works, and it's not how personal growth works either. Just as a farmer can't make a seed grow faster by pulling on the sprout, we can't force our own development. We need to trust in the process, nurture ourselves consistently, and have faith that growth will come in its own time. Embracing our seed-like nature means accepting our potential for growth and change. It's about recognizing that we're not fixed entities, but rather dynamic beings capable of continuous evolution. This perspective can be incredibly liberating. It means that we're not limited by our past or our current circumstances. We always have the ability to learn, adapt, and become something new. Think about all the different directions a seed can grow. It might become a towering tree, a flowering bush, or a fruit-bearing plant. Similarly, our potential isn't limited to just one path. We have the ability to explore various aspects of ourselves, to develop multiple skills and interests. Maybe we start out thinking we'll become one thing, but as we grow, we discover new passions and talents we never knew we had. As we drift off to sleep, let's take a moment to visualize ourselves as seeds ready to sprout and reach for the sky. Imagine the incredible journey ahead, the growth we'll experience, and the beauty we'll create in the world. Remember that every great achievement, every personal transformation, starts with something as small and humble as a seed. We all have that seed of potential within us, waiting for the right conditions to grow. As our seed of potential begins to take root, we're about to uncover a hidden world that lies beneath the surface. Have you ever stopped to consider how the invisible network below ground shapes the mighty tree above? Our roots, both literal and metaphorical, play a crucial role in our development and growth, connecting us to a rich history that's often out of sight but never out of mind. When a seed first sprouts, It doesn't immediately reach for the sky. Instead, it sends delicate tendrils deep into the earth, seeking stability and nourishment. These roots become the foundation of the entire plant, anchoring it firmly in place and providing the essential nutrients it needs to thrive. In the same way, our personal roots, our family history, cultural heritage, and early experiences form the bedrock of who we are. Think about your own life for a moment. Every decision you make, every goal you pursue, is influenced in some way by the roots you've put down over the years. Maybe you grew up in a family that valued education, and now you find yourself constantly seeking out new knowledge. Or perhaps your cultural background emphasizes community, leading you to prioritize relationships in your personal and professional life. These aren't just coincidences. They're the result of deep-rooted influences that have shaped your worldview and values. But what happens when our roots are tangled or we feel disconnected from our origins? This is a common experience, especially in our increasingly globalized world. We might find ourselves living far from our childhood homes or struggling to reconcile our personal beliefs with the traditions we were raised with. It's important to remember that feeling conflicted about our roots doesn't make them any less significant. In fact, these moments of tension often lead to the most profound personal growth. Just as tree roots absorb nutrients from the soil, we absorb lessons and values from our upbringing. Some of these lessons are obvious, like the importance of honesty or hard work, while others are more subtle, influencing our behavior in ways we might not even realize. And just like a tree, we have different types of roots. Some go deep, representing core memories and formative experiences that have a profound impact on who we are. Others spread wide, showing how we're connected to a broader community and history. It's fascinating to think about how our roots connect us not just to our immediate family, but to generations of ancestors we've never met. Their experiences, their struggles, and their triumphs have all contributed to shaping the world we inhabit today. By understanding and appreciating this connection, we gain a sense of continuity and purpose that can be incredibly grounding. Of course, roots can also hold us back if we're not careful. Old patterns of behavior or outdated beliefs can keep us stuck, preventing us from growing in new directions. This is where self-awareness comes into play. By examining our roots, the good and the bad, we can make conscious choices about which aspects of our background we want to nurture and which we might need to prune away. Understanding and appreciating our roots gives us a strong foundation for growth. When we know where we come from, we're better equipped to navigate where we're going. This doesn't mean we're bound by our past. Far from it. Instead, our roots provide us with the stability and nourishment we need to branch out in new directions, to reach for the sky with confidence. As we continue our journey of growth, it's worth taking some time to explore our own root systems. What values and beliefs have been passed down to you? How have your early experiences shaped the person you are today? Are there aspects of your background that you'd like to embrace more fully, or perhaps some you'd like to move away from? By asking these questions, we can gain valuable insights into ourselves and our potential for growth. From the hidden depths of our roots, a structure emerges that defines our very essence. The trunk of our personal tree of life stands tall and strong, representing the core beliefs and principles that guide our actions and decisions. It's fascinating to think about how these fundamental values shape our lives, often without us even realizing it. Just like the trunk provides support and structure for the entire tree, our core beliefs give us direction and stability as we navigate through life's challenges. But here's something to ponder as we drift deeper into sleep. What happens when our principles are tested or we're not sure what we stand for? It's a question that can keep us up at night, but it's also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. Think about the times in your life when you faced a difficult decision or encountered a situation that challenged your beliefs. These moments can be uncomfortable, but they're also incredibly important for our personal development. The trunk of a tree is the central pillar that holds everything else up, and our fundamental beliefs serve a similar purpose in our lives. They're the foundation upon which we build our relationships, make decisions, and interact with the world around us. But unlike a tree trunk, which remains largely unchanged throughout its life, our core principles can and should evolve over time. If we look closely at the trunk of a tree, we'll see rings that show its growth over time. Each year adds new layers of understanding, just like our experiences shape and refine our beliefs. Maybe you've held onto a particular value since childhood, but as you've grown older, you've developed a more nuanced understanding of it. Or perhaps you've had experiences that have completely changed your perspective on certain issues. This evolution is a natural and healthy part of personal growth. One of the most important aspects of our personal trunk is its ability to be flexible. A tree that can't bend with the wind is more likely to break during a storm. In the same way, we need to be able to adapt our beliefs as we gain new experiences and information. This doesn't mean abandoning our principles at the first sign of challenge, but rather being open to new ideas and willing to reconsider our position when presented with compelling evidence. Flexibility in our core beliefs allows us to navigate complex situations with grace and empathy. It helps us understand different perspectives and find common ground with others, even when we don't agree on everything. This adaptability is especially crucial in today's rapidly changing world, where we're constantly exposed to new ideas and diverse viewpoints. Developing a strong yet flexible set of core principles gives us stability and resilience in the face of life's challenges. When we have a clear understanding of our values, we can make decisions with confidence, even in difficult situations. At the same time, our flexibility allows us to learn and grow from every experience, continuously refining our beliefs and becoming more nuanced in our understanding of the world. As we continue our journey through the tree of life, it's worth taking some time to reflect on our own personal trunk. What are the core beliefs that guide your actions and decisions? Are there areas where you feel particularly strong and unwavering? Are there others where you're less certain or more open to change? Exploring these questions can help us better understand ourselves and our place in the world. It's also important to remember that our core beliefs don't exist in isolation. They're intimately connected to our roots, our family history, cultural heritage, and personal experiences. They also support and influence the branches of our lives, our relationships, career choices, and personal pursuits. By nurturing a strong and flexible trunk, we create a solid foundation for all aspects of our lives to flourish. As our symbolic tree of life begins to stretch its limbs, we enter a fascinating new phase of growth. The first branches start to emerge, reaching out into the world around us. These initial offshoots represent our early relationships and social connections, the very beginnings of our personal network. It's a crucial stage in our development, where we start to form bonds beyond our immediate family and create our own social identity. Think about your earliest friendships or the first time you connected with someone outside your family circle. These initial branches are often formed in childhood, maybe with neighborhood kids, classmates, or even imaginary friends. They're the first steps we take in learning how to interact with others, share experiences, and navigate the complex world of social dynamics. But here's the thing about these early relationships. They're not always smooth sailing. As we start to form connections, we also begin to encounter the challenges that come with social interaction. We learn about differences in personalities, opinions, and backgrounds. We experience our first conflicts, misunderstandings, and the need for compromise. It's like our branches are testing the air, figuring out how to grow and where to reach. Each of these branches, each relationship, serves a unique purpose in our life. Some might be playmates who bring joy and laughter. Others might be mentors who guide and inspire us. We might have a friend who challenges us to try new things, or one who offers comfort when we're feeling down. Just like the branches of a tree, our relationships can take many forms and directions. As we continue to grow, some of these branches become thick and strong. These represent our closest and most enduring relationships. The friends who stick with us through thick and thin, the family members we remain close to, or the partners we choose to build our lives with. These sturdy branches become a core part of our support system, helping us weather life's storms and reach new heights. But not all branches remain. Some might become smaller, or even fall away entirely. This represents the natural ebb and flow of relationships in our lives. Maybe we drift apart from childhood friends as our interests change, or we outgrow certain relationships that no longer serve us. It's a normal and necessary part of growth, making room for new connections and ensuring our social network remains healthy and vibrant. One of the most interesting aspects of our relationship branches is how they intertwine and influence each other. Think about how your friend groups might overlap, or how a relationship with one person might introduce you to a whole new circle of connections. Our social world is like a complex web, with each relationship potentially leading to new ones and creating a rich tapestry of interactions. Of course, where branches intertwine, there can also be friction. Just as tree branches might rub against each other in the wind, our relationships can sometimes create conflict or tension. Maybe we have friends who don't get along, or we find ourselves caught between different social groups. Navigating these complexities is an important skill we develop as we grow, learning how to maintain harmony in our social ecosystem. As we continue to relax and reflect on our personal tree of life, it's worth taking a moment to appreciate the incredible web of connections we've created. Each relationship, whether it's long-lasting or fleeting, plays a role in shaping who we are. They provide support, challenge us to grow, offer new perspectives, and enrich our lives in countless ways. As our symbolic tree of life continues to grow, we now see vibrant leaves sprouting from its branches, reaching out to capture the sunlight. These leaves represent our incredible ability to learn, adapt, and grow from new experiences throughout our lives. It's amazing how our minds, like the leaves of a tree, are constantly absorbing new information and adapting to change. The process of learning is a lot like photosynthesis in leaves. Just as leaves take in sunlight and transform it into energy for the tree, our brains take in new information and experiences and transform them into knowledge and wisdom that fuels our personal growth. This is a continuous process that happens throughout our lives, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. Each leaf on our tree of life can be seen as a new skill or piece of knowledge we acquire. Some leaves might represent practical skills like learning to cook or fixing a car, while others might represent more abstract knowledge like understanding complex scientific theories or appreciating different forms of art. The diversity of leaf shapes and sizes on a tree reflects the variety of ways we can learn and grow as individuals. But here's something to think about. How do we stay open to new ideas and continue learning throughout our lives? It's easy to get stuck in our ways or feel like we've learned everything we need to know. But that's when our growth starts to stagnate. Just like a tree needs to constantly produce new leaves to stay healthy, we need to keep our minds open to new information and experiences to keep growing and thriving. One interesting aspect of leaves is how they change with the seasons. In many trees, leaves change color and fall off in autumn, making way for new growth in the spring. This cycle reminds us that learning is not a linear process, but a cyclical, lifelong journey. Sometimes we need to let go of old ideas or outdated knowledge to make room for new growth and understanding. This idea of letting go can be challenging. We often get attached to our beliefs and ways of thinking, even when they're no longer serving us well. But imagine if a tree tried to hold onto its old, withered leaves instead of letting them fall. It wouldn't have room for new, healthy leaves to grow. In the same way, we sometimes need to let go of old misconceptions or outdated information to make space for new, more accurate knowledge. The process of learning and adapting isn't always easy. Sometimes new information challenges our existing beliefs or makes us uncomfortable. But this discomfort is often a sign of growth. It's like how a tree might bend and sway in strong winds. But this very act of bending makes its trunk and branches stronger over time. One of the most beautiful things about the learning process is how it connects us to the world around us. Just as leaves reach out to capture sunlight, our minds reach out to capture new ideas and experiences. This constant interaction with our environment keeps us engaged, curious, and alive in a very real sense. As we continue to grow and learn, we develop a rich tapestry of knowledge and experiences. This is reflected in the lush canopy of a mature tree, with its many layers of leaves all working together. Some leaves might be in full sunlight, representing areas where we're actively learning and growing. Others might be in shade, representing knowledge we're not currently using but still have available when needed. Embracing a mindset of continuous learning keeps our minds sharp and adaptable. It allows us to navigate the complexities of life with greater ease and opens up new opportunities we might never have imagined. Just as a healthy tree with vibrant leaves is better able to withstand storms and changing conditions, a mind that's constantly learning and adapting is better equipped to handle life's challenges. As our symbolic tree of life enters a new phase, we see its leaves begin to change color, signaling the arrival of autumn. This transformation mirrors the cyclical nature of our own lives, reminding us that change is not just inevitable but essential for growth. Just as the tree experiences different seasons, we too go through various phases in our personal journey. The changing seasons of our tree represent the different cycles we experience throughout life. We all have our own springs, summers, autumns, and winters, each bringing unique challenges and opportunities. But how do we navigate these changes and find meaning in life's ups and downs? The key lies in understanding and embracing the purpose of each season. Let's start with spring, the season of new beginnings and fresh starts. In our personal growth journey, spring represents those moments when we feel rejuvenated and ready to take on new challenges. It's a time of planting seeds, both literally and figuratively. We might start a new job, begin a relationship, or embark on a personal project. The energy of spring encourages us to try new things and step out of our comfort zones. As we move into summer, our tree is in full bloom, its leaves a vibrant green. This season symbolizes times of abundance and productivity in our lives. It's when we're in our prime, feeling confident and capable. We might be excelling in our careers, enjoying strong relationships, or achieving personal goals. Summer is a time to make the most of our opportunities and bask in the warmth of our accomplishments. But just as the leaves of our tree begin to change color, we too experience transitions. Autumn teaches us about letting go and finding beauty in change. This season reminds us that it's okay to release things that no longer serve us. Maybe it's time to end a relationship that's run its course, leave a job that's no longer fulfilling, or let go of outdated beliefs. While these changes can be challenging, they're necessary for our continued growth. Winter arrives, and our tree stands bare against the cold. This season shows us the importance of rest, reflection, and preparing for new growth. In our lives, winter might represent periods of stillness or apparent inactivity. But beneath the surface, important work is happening. We're processing experiences, healing from setbacks, and gathering strength for the next phase of growth. Winter teaches us that downtime is not wasted time. It's a crucial part of our development. Each season has its purpose, just as each phase of our life contributes to our overall story. The spring of our childhood lays the foundation for who we'll become. The summer of our young adulthood is often filled with energy and ambition. As we enter the autumn of our middle years, we might find ourselves reassessing our priorities. And in the winter of our later years, we have the opportunity to reflect on our experiences and pass on our wisdom. Recognizing life's cyclical nature helps us find peace in change and uncertainty. When we're going through a difficult winter in our lives, we can take comfort in knowing that spring will come again. Conversely, during the abundant summers, we can appreciate the moment while understanding that change is on the horizon. As we relax and drift off to sleep, let's embrace the current season of our life, knowing it's part of a larger cycle. Whether you're in a period of growth, abundance, transition, or rest, remember that each phase has its own beauty and lessons to offer. Just like our symbolic tree, we are constantly changing and evolving, growing stronger with each passing season. As our symbolic tree of life faces its first major challenge, we see the sky darken and feel the wind pick up. This isn't just a gentle breeze anymore. It's a full-blown storm that's about to test every fiber of our tree's being. We've watched it grow from a tiny seed, develop strong roots, and sprout its first branches. But now, nature has something else in store for our leafy friend. The wind howls, pushing against the trunk and whipping the branches back and forth. It's almost like the tree is caught in a wild dance, swaying to the rhythm of the tempest. This storm represents the challenges and adversities we all face in life. Sometimes they come out of nowhere, catching us off guard and shaking us to our core. But how do we stay strong and resilient when life throws its worst at us? Our tree doesn't have the option to run and hide. It has to stand its ground and face the storm head-on. The wind tests the strength of the trunk, seeing just how much it can bend before it breaks. Those deep roots we talked about earlier, they're being put to the test too, anchoring the tree firmly in place as the gale tries its best to uproot it. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminates the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder. This represents those sudden, unexpected crises that we sometimes have to face in life. Maybe it's the loss of a job, a health scare, or the end of a relationship. These moments can be shocking and disorienting, just like the bright flash and loud boom of a thunderstorm. As if that wasn't enough, the heavens open up and rain starts pouring down in sheets. It's relentless, soaking every leaf and branch. This deluge can feel overwhelming, much like periods of stress or emotional turmoil in our own lives. There are times when it feels like we're drowning in our problems, unable to catch our breath. But here's where things get interesting. While the storm is undoubtedly challenging, it's not all bad news for our tree. That rain that's coming down so hard? It's actually essential for growth. The tree's roots are soaking up all that water, storing it for future use. In the same way, the challenges we face in life, while difficult, often lead to personal development. They force us to adapt, to become stronger, to develop new skills and perspectives. As the storm rages on, we notice that some of the tree's branches are starting to crack under the pressure. A few leaves are torn away by the wind, spiraling off into the darkness. At first, this might seem like a bad thing, but in reality, it's part of the natural process of growth and renewal. The tree might lose some parts of itself, but this creates space for new growth. Those broken branches will eventually be replaced by stronger ones, and new leaves will sprout to replace the ones that were lost. This is a powerful metaphor for our own lives. Sometimes, we need to let go of certain things, old habits, outdated beliefs, or even relationships that no longer serve us, to make room for new growth and opportunities. It can be scary and painful in the moment, but it's often necessary for our long-term health and happiness. As the storm finally begins to subside, we see our tree still standing tall. Sure, it's a bit battered and looks a little different than it did before, but it's still there. Not only that, but it's actually stronger now. The wind has strengthened its trunk, making it more flexible and resilient. The rain has nourished its roots, helping them grow even deeper. And those spaces left by lost branches and leaves? They're already showing signs of new growth. This is the ultimate lesson of weathering the storm. Facing and overcoming challenges makes us stronger and more resilient. Each difficulty we face and conquer adds to our inner strength, our ability to handle whatever life throws our way. Just like our tree, we may get battered and bruised. We may lose some parts of ourselves along the way, but we emerge on the other side stronger, more adaptable, and better prepared for future challenges. As our tree grows stronger and taller, we start to notice it's not just standing there alone anymore. It's becoming part of something much bigger and more intricate than we ever imagined. The world around our tree is bustling with life, from the tiniest insects to the mightiest predators. Our tree isn't just growing for itself anymore, it's becoming a vital piece of an intricate ecosystem. This is where things get really interesting, because now we're talking about how everything in nature is connected, and how that mirrors our own place in the world. Think about it. Our tree might seem like it's just doing its own thing, growing leaves and stretching its branches towards the sky. But in reality, it's playing a crucial role in the lives of countless other organisms. We see birds starting to build nests in the branches, finding a safe place to raise their young. This is just like how we often provide support and shelter to our friends and family when they need it most. It's not always easy, and sometimes it might feel like a burden, but it's an important part of being connected to others. But it's not just about the big, obvious things like birds' nests. If we look closer, we notice all sorts of insects and small animals making their homes in the bark of our tree. Some might see this as a nuisance, but it's actually a beautiful example of how we can nurture diversity in our own lives. Just like our tree provides a home for all these different creatures, we can create spaces in our lives for people with different backgrounds, ideas, and experiences. It's not always comfortable, but it's how we grow and learn. Now, if we could see underground, we'd notice something really cool happening with the roots. They're not just growing straight down anymore. They're starting to intertwine with the roots of neighboring trees. This is a perfect representation of our community connections. We're not isolated individuals, but part of a larger network of people who support and influence each other. Sometimes these connections are obvious, like with our close friends and family. Other times, they're more subtle, like the way we're influenced by our neighbors or coworkers. But here's where it gets really wild. Our tree is actually exchanging nutrients with fungi in the soil. It's this amazing give-and-take relationship that benefits both the tree and the fungi. This is exactly like the relationships we have in our own lives. We don't just take from others, we also give back. It's this constant exchange of ideas, support, and energy that keeps our relationships healthy and thriving. And let's not forget about the leaves. They're not just there to look pretty. They're actually providing oxygen for the entire environment. This is a perfect example of how our actions can have a positive impact on the world around us. Every time we do something kind or helpful, it's like we're releasing a little bit of oxygen into the world, making it a better place for everyone. Of course, being part of an ecosystem isn't always easy. There are challenges to face and balance to maintain. How do we focus on our own growth and needs while also considering our responsibility to others and the environment? It's not always a simple question to answer. Sometimes we might feel like we're giving too much or not getting enough in return. But that's the beauty of being part of something larger than ourselves. It's a constant process of finding balance and adjusting as we go. As we start to recognize our interconnectedness, something really amazing happens. We begin to feel a deep sense of belonging and purpose. We're not just random individuals floating through life. We're vital parts of a complex and beautiful system. Every action we take, every relationship we nurture, every bit of support we offer, it all matters. It all contributes to the health and balance of the entire ecosystem. As our tree continues to grow and flourish, we encounter a new character in our story, a skilled gardener with a sharp pair of pruning shears. At first glance, this might seem alarming. Why would anyone want to cut away parts of our beautiful tree? But as we're about to discover, sometimes letting go is the key to unlocking our true potential. The gardener carefully examines our tree, looking for branches that need attention. Some are dead or diseased, no longer contributing to the tree's overall health. These might represent habits or relationships in our lives that once served a purpose, but now hold us back. Maybe it's a friendship that's turned toxic, a job that no longer challenges us, or a belief that we've outgrown. Other branches are crossing or rubbing against each other, creating friction and stress. In our lives, these could be conflicting commitments or goals that are fighting for our time and energy. Perhaps we're trying to balance too many responsibilities, and something needs to give. As the gardener begins to prune, we might feel a sense of loss or even pain. It's not easy to let go of parts of ourselves, even when we know they're no longer helping us grow. But here's the thing. Pruning isn't about destruction. It's about creating space for new growth and directing the tree's energy where it's needed most. With each snip of the shears, more light and air can reach the inner branches of our tree. This is like gaining clarity in our lives. When we remove the clutter, whether it's physical possessions, mental baggage, or outdated commitments, we can see more clearly what truly matters to us. The process of pruning teaches us an important lesson about growth. Sometimes we need to let go of the old to make room for the new. This might mean ending a relationship that's no longer healthy, quitting a habit that's holding us back, or even letting go of a dream that no longer aligns with who we've become. At first, our pruned tree might look a bit bare. We might feel vulnerable or exposed. But this is where the magic happens. With the dead weight gone and more resources available, our tree is now poised for more vigorous growth. New shoots will emerge, stronger and healthier than before. In our lives, this pruning process can lead to amazing transformations. When we let go of what's no longer serving us, we create space for new opportunities and healthier patterns. Maybe we'll discover a new passion, form more meaningful relationships, or find the energy to pursue a long-held dream. Learning to let go is a skill that takes practice. It requires self-awareness to recognize what needs to be pruned and courage to make the cut. But with each successful pruning, we become more confident in our ability to shape our own growth. The gardener's work isn't a one-time event. Just as our tree will continue to grow and change, we'll need to regularly assess what's working in our lives and what might need to be let go. This ongoing process of growth and release is what keeps us adaptable and resilient. As we watch our tree adjust to its new shape, we can see the wisdom in this process. The remaining branches grow stronger, reaching higher towards the sky. The trunk stands taller, unburdened by the weight of unnecessary growth. And most importantly, there's now room for new possibilities. Fresh buds just waiting to unfurl. As our tree continues to grow and flourish, we see a remarkable transformation taking place. Those small buds we've been nurturing are finally beginning to swell and mature into something truly extraordinary. Our tree is starting to bear fruit, and it's a sight to behold. This is the moment we've been waiting for, the sweet result of years of growth, care, and patience. The fruit on our tree represents all the tangible outcomes and achievements in our life. These are the visible signs of our hard work, dedication, and perseverance. Just like how each apple or peach on a tree is unique, our accomplishments come in different shapes and sizes. Some might be big and impressive, like landing that dream job or buying your first home. Others might be smaller but no less significant, like finally mastering a new skill or overcoming a personal fear. But here's the thing about fruit. It doesn't all ripen at the same time. Some fruits mature quickly, ready to be plucked and enjoyed in no time at all. These are like those quick wins we experience in life, the small victories that give us an immediate sense of accomplishment. Maybe it's nailing a presentation at work or receiving a compliment on a new hairstyle. These quick, ripening fruits are important because they give us the motivation to keep going. On the other hand, some fruits take much longer to develop. They require more patience, more nurturing, and more time. These are like our long-term goals and dreams. Maybe you're working towards a degree, or you're saving up for a big trip around the world. These fruits might take years to fully ripen, but when they do, the satisfaction is often that much sweeter. The sweetness of the fruit on our tree reflects the joy and fulfillment we feel when we finally reach our goals. It's that rush of endorphins when we cross the finish line of a marathon we've trained months for. It's the pride we feel when we see our name on a published article, or the warmth in our chest when we make a positive difference in someone's life. This sweetness is what makes all the hard work worthwhile. But here's an important thing to remember. Not all fruits will be perfect. Some might be smaller than others, or maybe they're a bit misshapen. And you know what? That's completely okay. In fact, it's perfectly natural. These imperfect fruits remind us that success doesn't always look the way we expect it to. Maybe that business idea didn't take off exactly as planned, or perhaps that relationship didn't work out the way you hoped. But even these imperfect fruits have value. They teach us resilience, they help us grow, and they often lead us to unexpected opportunities. One of the most beautiful things about fruit is that it contains seeds for new trees. This is a powerful metaphor for how our achievements can inspire and influence others. When we succeed, we don't just benefit ourselves. We create a ripple effect that can motivate and encourage those around us. Maybe your courage to change careers inspires a friend to pursue their passion. Or perhaps your commitment to fitness motivates a family member to start taking care of their health. Our fruits have the potential to plant seeds of change and growth in others. But what if our efforts don't seem to be bearing fruit immediately? This is where many of us struggle. We live in a world of instant gratification, where we expect quick results for our efforts. But nature doesn't work that way, and neither does personal growth. Sometimes we need to trust in the process, to keep nurturing our tree, even when we can't see the fruit forming yet. This is where patience becomes crucial. It's about having faith in ourselves and our journey, knowing that with continued effort and care, the fruits will come in their own time. As we continue to grow and develop, it's important to recognize and appreciate our achievements, both big and small. This recognition brings a sense of fulfillment and motivates us to keep pushing forward. It's not about comparing our fruits to those on someone else's tree. It's about acknowledging our own unique journey and the progress we've made along the way. As our tree continues to grow and flourish, we see a remarkable transformation taking place high above. The canopy of our tree has been quietly expanding, offering a whole new perspective on the world around us. It's like suddenly gaining a bird's-eye view of everything we've ever known. This vast network of branches and leaves represents our expanding worldview and the way our understanding of life becomes more nuanced and complex as we grow. From up here, we can see so much further than we ever could before. It's not just about having a wider view, though. The canopy gives us the ability to understand the bigger picture in a way that wasn't possible when we were focused solely on what was right in front of us. We start to see how different parts of our life connect and influence each other, kind of like how the branches of our tree intertwine and support one another. One of the coolest things about the canopy is how it offers different viewpoints depending on where you look. Each branch gives us a unique angle, almost like we're considering multiple perspectives on a single issue. This is super important because it helps us develop empathy and understanding for others. We start to realize that our way of seeing things isn't the only valid one out there. There's something really special about the highest leaves in the canopy too. They're the first to catch the light of dawn, symbolizing those moments of sudden insight or revelation we sometimes experience. You know those aha moments when something just clicks and you understand something in a whole new way? That's what these leaves represent. They remind us to always stay open to new ideas and insights, no matter how comfortable we might be with our current understanding. But it's not all sunshine up in the canopy. We've got to remember that our expanding perspective can cast shadows too. As our understanding grows, we need to be mindful of how our views and actions affect others. Just like how the canopy creates shade for the plants below, our newfound wisdom and perspective can impact those around us. It's a reminder to use our expanded worldview responsibly and with kindness. The way light and shadow play in the canopy is actually a pretty cool metaphor for the complexity of gained wisdom. Sometimes, what we learn isn't all black and white. There are shades of gray, areas where things aren't as clear-cut as we might like them to be. This interplay teaches us to be comfortable with ambiguity and to appreciate the nuances in life. As we drift off to sleep, let's imagine our minds expanding like this vast, wise canopy. Picture your thoughts and understanding stretching out, reaching further and growing more intricate with each passing day. It's a beautiful image of personal growth and the endless potential we all have to broaden our horizons. As our tree continues to mature, we become aware of something fascinating happening beneath the surface. While we've been focusing on the beautiful canopy above, there's been a quiet but powerful force at work down below. The deep taproot of our tree has been steadily extending far into the earth, reaching depths we can't even see. This isn't just any old root. It's like the tree's secret weapon, connecting it to something much bigger than itself. Now, this taproot isn't just there for show. It represents our connection to our inner wisdom and intuition. It's that gut feeling we get sometimes, or that little voice in the back of our head that seems to know things we can't explain. But here's the thing. In our busy, noisy world, it's not always easy to hear that inner voice. We're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and distractions. So how do we tune into this inner wisdom when life is throwing so much at us? Well, let's think about how this taproot works in our tree. It's reaching depths far beyond what we can see, just like our subconscious mind. There's so much going on beneath the surface that we're not even aware of. Our brains are processing information, making connections, and coming up with insights all the time, even when we're not consciously thinking about it. And just like the taproot provides stability for the tree during storms, our inner wisdom can guide us through life's challenges. This deep connection allows us to draw on resources we didn't even know we had. It's like having a secret well of strength and knowledge that we can tap into when we need it most. Maybe you've had that experience where you're faced with a tough situation and suddenly you just know what to do. That's your inner wisdom at work. But here's something really cool about the taproot. It doesn't just take from the soil, it gives back too. As it grows, it helps enrich the soil around it, making the whole area healthier. In the same way, when we listen to our intuition and act on it, it doesn't just benefit us. It can have a positive impact on everything around us. We might make decisions that are better for our relationships, our work, or our community. Of course, it's not always smooth sailing for our taproot. Sometimes it has to break through rocky soil or navigate around obstacles. This is just like how we sometimes have to overcome inner obstacles to connect with our intuition. Maybe we've got limiting beliefs or fears that are getting in the way. Or perhaps we've been taught to always rely on logic and ignore our gut feelings. Breaking through these barriers can be tough, but it's so worth it. As we learn to trust and develop our intuition, we start making choices that feel more authentic and fulfilling. It's like we're finally dancing to our own rhythm instead of trying to follow someone else's beat. We might find ourselves pursuing goals that truly resonate with us, or forming relationships that feel genuinely supportive and nurturing. Now, as we're relaxing and getting ready for sleep, let's take a moment to feel that deep connection to our inner wisdom. Even as we drift off, it's there, guiding us and supporting us. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. We've got this incredible source of guidance right inside us, always ready to help. As we continue our journey through the tree of life, we come across something truly fascinating: the rings within the trunk. These rings aren't just random patterns. They're like a record of everything our tree has been through. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Each ring represents a whole year of growth, telling a story as unique and complex as our own lives. When we look at a cross-section of the trunk, we see these rings laid out in a series of concentric circles. The innermost rings, close to the center, represent our early years. These are the formative experiences that shaped who we are at our core. As we move outward, we see the more recent years, building on those early patterns but also showing how we've changed and grown over time. What's really interesting is how these rings can vary in width. Some years we see these wide, thick rings. These often represent times of abundance and growth, when conditions were just right for the tree to flourish. Other rings might be thinner, showing years when resources were scarce or conditions were tough. It's like looking at a visual representation of the ups and downs we all go through in life. But here's where it gets really cool. Sometimes we might notice irregularities in the rings. Maybe there's a scar or unusual pattern. These could represent significant events or challenges the tree faced. Maybe there was a particularly harsh winter, or the tree was damaged in some way. But the tree kept growing, and those experiences became part of its story. When we think about our own lives, we all have those moments that leave a mark. Maybe it was a tough breakup, losing a job, or going through a health scare. At the time, these experiences might have felt like they were breaking us. But looking back, we can see how they've become part of our story, shaping who we are and often making us stronger. The overall pattern of these rings creates something totally unique. It's like a fingerprint for the tree. No two trees will have exactly the same pattern of rings, just like no two people have exactly the same life story. Even trees growing right next to each other will have different patterns based on their individual experiences and how they responded to the conditions around them. This idea of embracing our entire story, both the good and the bad, is really powerful. It's easy to focus on just the highlights, the years, where the rings are wide and everything seemed to be going great. But those thinner rings, those challenges and struggles, they're just as important to who we are. They show our resilience, our ability to keep growing even when things are tough. As we're drifting off to sleep, it's worth taking a moment to appreciate all the rings in our own life story. Every experience, every challenge, every triumph. They've all contributed to making us who we are today. It's not always easy to see in the moment, but each ring is adding to our strength, our wisdom, and our unique journey through life. Just like how the rings of a tree provide stability and support for new growth, our past experiences form the foundation for our future. We're not defined by any single ring or experience, but by the whole beautiful, complex pattern we've created over time. And the best part? We're still growing, still adding new rings to our story every single day. As we continue our journey through the tree of life, we turn our attention to an often overlooked but incredibly important aspect: the bark. Just like how our tree's outer layer has transformed over time, developing intricate patterns and textures, our own outer selves undergo constant change and adaptation. The bark isn't just a simple covering. It's a complex system that protects, adapts, and tells its own unique story. What can this outer layer teach us about the face we show to the world, and how it changes over time? The bark of our symbolic tree represents how we present ourselves to the world. It's our social interface, the part of us that interacts with others and navigates various situations. But here's the thing. How do we stay true to who we are while still fitting into all the different roles life throws at us? It's a balancing act that we're constantly performing. often without even realizing it. One of the primary functions of tree bark is protection. It shields the delicate inner layers from harm, much like how we develop our own protective mechanisms. These can be emotional boundaries, social skills, or even physical appearances that we use to navigate the world safely. Think about how you might act differently at work compared to when you're with close friends. These are all forms of protective bark that we've developed over time. As a tree ages, its bark changes texture and appearance. The smooth bark of a young sapling gradually gives way to the rough, furrowed surface of a mature tree. In the same way, our outer selves evolve as we grow and experience life. The way we presented ourselves as teenagers is probably quite different from how we carry ourselves now. This evolution isn't just about getting older. It's about adapting to new experiences, responsibilities, and understanding of the world. The cracks and furrows that develop in tree bark over time add character and uniqueness. Each pattern tells a story of the tree's life, the storms it weathered, the droughts it endured, the seasons it's lived through. Our own outer selves bear similar marks of our experiences. The laugh lines around our eyes, the confident set of our shoulders, or the empathetic way we listen to others. These are all reflections of our life experiences etched onto our outer selves. One of the most remarkable things about tree bark is its ability to heal and grow over wounds. When a tree is injured, the bark will gradually grow to cover the damaged area, leaving behind a scar, but continuing to protect the tree. This process mirrors our own resilience and ability to overcome challenges. We may face setbacks or traumas that leave their mark, but we adapt, heal, and continue to grow. Interestingly, different parts of a tree can have varying bark textures. The bark at the base of the trunk might be thick and deeply furrowed, while higher branches have smoother bark. This variation reflects how we adapt our outer selves to different social roles and environments. We might present ourselves one way in a professional setting, another way with family, and yet another with close friends. Each of these barks is authentic in its own way, adapted to the specific environment it needs to thrive in. Developing a flexible yet authentic outer self is key to navigating life's challenges. It's about finding that sweet spot between adaptability and staying true to our core. Values. This doesn't mean being fake or putting on a show. Instead, it's about understanding different social contexts and how to express our authentic selves appropriately in each situation. As we grow and change, our bark, our outer self, will continue to evolve. New experiences will leave their mark, challenges will test our resilience, and we'll adapt to new environments. But through it all, we remain the same tree at our core, continuously growing and reaching for the sky. As our tree reaches for the sky, it's not just growing taller, it's also branching out in new directions. Have you ever wondered why some branches on a tree grow thick and strong, while others wither away? The same process happens in our lives as we search for our true purpose. These prominent branches represent the different aspects of our life's calling, each one reaching towards the light in its own unique way. We see how some branches have grown more robust over time, symbolizing the areas of our life where we've found meaning and direction. Maybe it's a career path that energizes us, a relationship that brings fulfillment, or a passion project that lights up our soul. These strong branches are the ones that have received the most nurturing, whether through our own efforts or the support of others around us. But here's the thing. Finding our true calling isn't always a straightforward process. It's not like there's a big neon sign pointing us in the right direction. Sometimes we might feel lost, unsure of which branch to focus on or how to align our actions with our deepest values. It's like we're standing at a crossroads, trying to decide which path to take. The beauty of our tree of purpose is that it's not limited to just one main branch. We have the potential to grow in multiple directions, each representing a different aspect of our calling. There's the career branch, reaching towards professional fulfillment. Then we have the relationships branch, extending towards meaningful connections with others. And let's not forget about the passions branch, stretching out towards the things that bring us joy and excitement. What's really interesting is how sometimes these branches can surprise us. We might start growing in a direction we never expected, like discovering a hidden talent or developing an interest in something completely new. It's like our tree is constantly adapting and evolving, just as we are throughout our lives. The way these branches reach for the light is pretty fascinating too. They're always growing, always stretching towards something greater. This shows us how our sense of purpose often involves continuous growth and aspiration. We're not meant to stay stagnant. We're designed to keep reaching, keep learning, keep expanding our horizons. Now, if you look closely at these main branches, you'll notice smaller offshoots sprouting from them. These represent the various ways our purpose can manifest in our daily lives. For example, a strong career branch might have smaller offshoots for leadership roles, creative projects, or mentoring others. It's like our purpose has many different facets, each one contributing to the overall picture of who we are and what we're meant to do. Sometimes, though, these branches need a little help to grow straight and strong. That's where mentors and guides come in. They're like the stakes or supports we might use to help a young tree grow tall and straight. These people in our lives can offer wisdom, guidance, and encouragement as we navigate our path and try to figure out our true calling. As we continue to nurture and grow these branches of purpose, we start to notice something amazing happening. Our life begins to feel more aligned, more meaningful. We wake up each day with a sense of direction and fulfillment. It's like all the different parts of our tree are working together in harmony, creating a beautiful and balanced whole. Of course, this doesn't mean that every day will be perfect or that we'll never face challenges. Just like a real tree, our symbolic tree of purpose will still have to weather storms and face obstacles. But when we have a strong sense of purpose, we're better equipped to handle these challenges. Our roots are deeper, our trunk is stronger, and our branches are more resilient. As our tree of purpose reaches maturity, it becomes more than just a symbol of personal growth. It transforms into a thriving ecosystem, supporting a diverse array of life. This represents how our success and personal development can nurture and inspire others around us. We see birds building nests in the sturdy branches, providing a safe haven for their young. This mirrors how we can offer security and opportunities to those in our lives, whether it's mentoring a colleague at work or supporting a friend through a tough time. The shade cast by our tree's expansive canopy allows seedlings to sprout and grow beneath it. This is a beautiful metaphor for mentoring and nurturing the next generation. Just as we've grown and developed, we now have the chance to pass on our knowledge and experiences to others, helping them avoid some of the pitfalls we encountered and encouraging them to reach for their own potential. It's a reminder that our growth doesn't just benefit us, but can have a lasting impact on future generations. The diversity of life our tree supports is truly remarkable, from the smallest insects to larger mammals, each finding their place in this ecosystem. This reflects the various ways we can positively impact others in our lives. Some might find inspiration in our work ethic. Others might be touched by our kindness or generosity, and still others might be influenced by our creative pursuits or problem-solving skills. It's a reminder that we often affect others in ways we might not even realize. Of course, not every interaction in an ecosystem is entirely positive. Sometimes we encounter creatures that seem to take more than they give. This teaches us valuable lessons about setting boundaries and maintaining balance in our relationships. It's okay to be supportive and nurturing, but we also need to protect our own well-being and ensure that our relationships are reciprocal. This might mean learning to say no sometimes, or recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving us. It's important to remember that the overall health of this ecosystem depends on the health of our tree. If we neglect our own needs or push ourselves too hard, we won't be able to support others effectively. This underscores the crucial importance of self-care. Taking time to rest, recharge, and tend to our own growth ensures that we can continue to be a positive force in the lives of others. It's not selfish to prioritize our own well-being. It's actually essential for our ability to help others. As we consider this ecosystem of success, we realize that true achievement isn't just about personal gain. It's about creating value for our community and the world around us. When we focus solely on our own growth, we might reach great heights, but when we nurture an entire ecosystem, we create something far more impactful and lasting. It's the difference between being a lone tree in a field and being part of a lush, vibrant forest. This perspective can completely transform how we view success. Instead of just chasing personal goals or accolades, we start to consider how our actions and achievements can benefit others. We might ask ourselves questions like, how can my work make someone else's life easier? Or how can I use my skills to solve problems in my community? This mindset leads to a more fulfilling and purposeful life as we see the positive ripple effects of our growth and success spreading outward. It's also worth noting that this ecosystem approach to success often leads to unexpected opportunities and connections. As we support others, they in turn may support us in ways we never anticipated. Perhaps a mentee goes on to achieve great things and later becomes a valuable business partner or a community project. We contribute to leads to new friendships and collaborations. This interconnectedness reminds us that success is rarely a solo journey, but rather a collective experience where we all have the potential to lift each other up. As our symbolic tree continues to grow and mature, we see it experiencing countless cycles of seasons, each leaving its unique mark on its branches and roots. This constant ebb and flow of change mirrors the various phases and transitions we encounter throughout our lives. Just as the tree adapts to the shifting seasons, we too must learn to navigate the ever-changing landscape of our personal journeys. But how can we approach these transitions with grace and find meaning in each distinct phase of our existence? Let's start by looking at the vibrant energy of spring. In our tree's life cycle, we see new buds forming on the branches, fresh leaves unfurling, and a surge of growth that seems to happen almost overnight. This reminds us that no matter where we are in life, renewal and fresh starts are always possible. Maybe we're feeling stuck in a job that no longer fulfills us, or we're recovering from a setback in our personal relationships. The arrival of spring teaches us that we can always plant new seeds of change and watch them blossom into exciting opportunities as we transition into summer. We witness our tree in its full glory, lush green leaves providing shade and branches heavy with fruit. This represents the times in our lives when we're at our most productive and joyful. Maybe we're excelling in our careers, starting a family, or pursuing a passion project that lights us up inside. But summer also brings intense heat and the need for balance, just as our tree requires extra water and care. During this season, we too must remember to nurture ourselves and avoid burnout. Even in times of abundance, autumn arrives with a stunning display of colors as our tree's leaves transform into vibrant shades of red, orange, and gold. This beautiful transition teaches us about the art of letting go. We see how the tree gracefully releases its leaves, allowing them to fall to the ground where they'll eventually nourish the soil for future growth in our own lives. Autumn phases might involve ending relationships that no longer serve us, changing careers, or moving to a new city. These transitions can be bittersweet, but they often pave the way for exciting new chapters. Winter brings a period of apparent dormancy for our tree, its branches bare and growth seemingly at a standstill. But beneath the surface, important processes are still taking place. This season reminds us of the value of rest, reflection, and preparation in our own lives. We might experience winter phases during periods of illness, retirement, or simply times when we feel we're not making visible progress. These moments aren't just about waiting for spring. They're opportunities for deep introspection, planning, and gathering energy for our next burst of growth. The tree's ability to adapt and thrive through each season reflects our own capacity for resilience and flexibility. We see how it bends with strong winds without breaking, how it conserves energy during harsh times, and how it bursts forth with new life when conditions improve. Similarly, we can learn to weather the storms of life, adapt to changing circumstances, and seize opportunities for growth when they arise. By embracing each phase of life rather than resisting it, we open ourselves up to unique opportunities for personal development and joy. Spring phases allow us to reinvent ourselves and start fresh summer periods. Let us bask in the fruits of our labor and share our abundance with others. Autumn teaches us the beauty of change and the freedom that comes with letting go. And winter provides us with the gift of stillness and inner work. As we journey through life seasons, we eventually reach a phase that's both profound and mysterious. Our symbolic tree now stands as a majestic elder, its presence commanding respect and awe. This mature state represents the wisdom and perspective gained through a life well lived, but it also raises an important question. How do we continue to grow and contribute as we age? embracing our elder status. The tree's massive size shows the accumulation of experiences and knowledge over time. Its trunk, now wider and more sturdy than ever, bears the marks of countless challenges overcome and lessons learned. Each ring tells a story, not just of survival, but of thriving through adversity. This is a powerful reminder that our own life experiences, both good and bad, contribute to our unique wisdom. Looking at the tree's deep roots, we see a representation of the profound understanding of life's fundamental truths. These roots have spent years exploring the depths, seeking out nourishment and stability. In the same way, as we age, we often find ourselves grasping truths that once seemed elusive. We start to see patterns in life, understanding the cyclical nature of events and the interconnectedness of all things. The complex network of branches shows how our wisdom touches many areas of life. Some branches reach high into the sky, symbolizing lofty ideals and aspirations we've held onto throughout our journey. Others stretch out wide, representing the broad impact we can have on those around us. Each branch, with its unique shape and direction, reflects a different aspect of our accumulated knowledge and experience. Despite its age, new growth still appears on our elder tree. Fresh leaves and tender shoots emerge each spring, showing that learning never stops, even in our later years. This is a beautiful reminder that we're never too old to acquire new skills, explore new interests, or gain fresh insights. The tree doesn't stop growing just because it's reached a certain height, and neither should we. The tree's very presence changes the landscape, like how our wisdom can shape our environment. Its broad canopy provides shelter for countless creatures. Its leaves contribute to the air quality, and its roots help prevent soil erosion. Similarly, as we embrace our maturity, we have the power to positively influence our surroundings. Our words and actions, tempered by years of experience, can provide comfort, guidance, and stability to those around us. But embracing our elder status isn't always easy. Society often values youth and novelty over age and experience. We might feel pressure to stay young at heart or fear becoming irrelevant. However, just as the ancient tree doesn't try to be a sapling, we too can find strength in accepting and celebrating our maturity. One of the most beautiful aspects of embracing our maturity is the opportunity to become a source of wisdom and stability for others. Like the mighty tree that provides a sturdy branch for a bird's nest or a shady spot for weary travelers, we can offer our accumulated knowledge and understanding to those who seek it. This doesn't mean constantly giving unsolicited advice, but rather being a steady, reliable presence that others can turn to when they need support or guidance. Our life experiences, both triumphs and setbacks, have equipped us with valuable insights. We've weathered storms, adapted to changing seasons, and learned how to stand strong in the face of adversity. This resilience and perspective are gifts we can share with younger generations, helping them navigate their own challenges with greater confidence and wisdom. Moreover, embracing our maturity allows us to approach life with a sense of calm and contentment that often eludes us in our younger years. We've learned to appreciate the beauty and simplicity, to find joy in small moments, and to value relationships over material possessions. This inner peace radiates outward, creating a soothing presence that can benefit everyone around us. As we grow older, we also gain a unique ability to see the bigger picture. Like the tree's expansive view from its highest branches, we can observe life's patterns and interconnections with clarity. This broader perspective allows us to offer balanced, thoughtful insights that consider long-term consequences and multiple viewpoints. As our symbolic tree of life reaches maturity, it begins to release seeds carried by the wind, ready to start new growth elsewhere. These seeds represent our legacy and the impact we leave on the world long after we're gone. It's a fascinating concept to consider how our actions and choices can continue to influence future generations. But it also raises an important question. How do we ensure our life has meaning beyond our immediate existence? Each seed carries genetic information, much like how our values, knowledge, and experiences can be passed on to others. This transmission of wisdom isn't limited to our immediate family or friends. Some seeds may travel far, showing how our influence can reach unexpected places and touch the lives of people we've never met. It's a reminder that even our smallest actions can have far-reaching consequences. Of course, not all seeds will grow into mighty trees themselves. Some may fall on infertile ground or face challenging conditions. This is true for our legacy as well. Not every idea or value we share will take root in others, but those that do have the potential to grow into something truly remarkable. It's important to remember that we can't control how our legacy will be received or interpreted, but we can focus on planting the best seeds possible. The act of producing seeds continues throughout the tree's life, just as our ongoing impact on the world doesn't stop until our final moments. Every interaction, every piece of advice, every kind gesture is like a seed being released into the wind. We're constantly shaping our legacy, whether we're aware of it or not. This realization can be both empowering and humbling, as it reminds us of the responsibility we have in our daily actions. Imagine the future forest these seeds might create. It represents the long-term effects of our actions and the potential for our influence to grow exponentially. A single tree can produce thousands of seeds in its lifetime, and if even a fraction of those grow into trees, the impact multiplies. In the same way, the wisdom we share or the positive changes we make in our community can inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond our own lifespan. Creating a meaningful legacy gives our life purpose and extends our impact well into the future. It's not about achieving fame or leaving behind material wealth. Instead, it's about the values we've upheld, the knowledge we've shared, and the positive changes we've made in the lives of others. These are the seeds that have the potential to grow into something truly remarkable. Our legacy isn't something that only comes into play at the end of our life. It's something we're actively creating every day through our choices and actions. By being mindful of the seeds we're planting, we can work towards leaving a positive and lasting impact on the world. This might involve mentoring others, volunteering in our community, creating art that moves people, or simply being a positive influence on those around us. It's also worth considering that our legacy isn't limited to grand gestures or world-changing innovations. Sometimes the most powerful seeds we plant are the small acts of kindness or the moments of genuine connection we share with others. These seemingly insignificant actions can have a profound impact on someone's life, potentially changing their trajectory in ways we might never know. As we reflect on the concept of legacy, it's natural to feel a sense of responsibility. But it's important not to let this feeling overwhelm us. We don't need to have everything figured out or to have achieved all our goals to leave a meaningful legacy. The very act of striving to be our best selves and to make a positive difference, however small, is a powerful legacy in itself. As our symbolic tree of life reaches its final stage, we see how the cycle of existence comes full circle. The leaves that once adorned its branches now gently drift to the forest floor, joining fallen twigs and branches. This return to the earth isn't an ending, but a crucial part of the natural cycle that sustains all life. It's a beautiful representation of how we're all interconnected, not just with each other, but with the very world around us. When we think about our own mortality, it's natural to feel a sense of unease or even fear. We've spent our whole lives growing, learning, and building relationships. The idea that all of that might come to an end can be overwhelming. But what if we could find peace in understanding our place within this grand cycle of life? As the fallen leaves and branches begin to break down, they release nutrients back into the soil. This process of decomposition might seem unpleasant at first glance, but it's actually incredibly life-giving. The rich organic matter created by this breakdown becomes food for countless microorganisms, fungi, and plants. In a way, the tree continues to nurture and support its environment, even after its life has ended. This process mirrors how our own lives continue to have an impact long after we're gone. The knowledge we've shared, the kindness we've shown, and the relationships we've built all become part of the rich soil from which future generations will grow. Just as the tree's nutrients are taken up by other plants, our legacy lives on in the people we've touched and the world we've helped shape. Around the base of our old tree, we might notice tiny seedlings starting to sprout. These new beginnings are made possible by the nutrients released from the decaying matter. It's a powerful reminder that life continues beyond our individual existence. Each of these seedlings carries the potential to grow into a mighty tree, just like the one that came before it. This continuity of life offers a different perspective on our own mortality. We're not just isolated individuals, but part of an ongoing story that stretches far beyond our own lifetimes. As we observe this cycle of growth, death, and rebirth, we start to see glimpses of the eternal nature of existence. While individual lives may be finite, life itself continues on in an endless dance of renewal and transformation. Our symbolic tree may no longer stand tall, but its essence lives on in the forest it helped create and nurture. Looking at the wider forest, we can see how our tree has left an indelible mark on its surroundings. Perhaps its branches provided shelter for countless birds over the years, or its roots helped stabilize the soil and prevent erosion. In the same way, our lives create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see or measure. The kindness we show to a stranger might inspire them to pay it forward, creating a chain reaction of positivity that continues long after we're gone. As we come to accept our place within this natural cycle, a sense of peace and connection can wash over us. We're not separate from nature, but an integral part of it. Our lives, like the life of the tree, are a gift, a chance to grow, to nurture, and to contribute to the world around us. When we embrace this perspective, the fear of mortality can start to fade, replaced by a deep appreciation for the time we have and the legacy we're creating. As we've watched our symbolic tree grow from a tiny seed to a majestic, mature plant, we've seen how life's journey is full of ups and downs, challenges and triumphs. The tree's roots remind us of our foundations, while its branches show how we reach out and connect with others. We've learned that growth isn't always easy, but it's worth it. The changing seasons teach us that life is cyclical, with periods of rest and renewal. As you drift off to sleep, think about your own tree of life. What new branches might you grow? How can you deepen your roots? Remember, like a tree, you're always growing, even when you can't see it. Your life is interconnected with the world around you, and every small action can have a ripple effect. Sweet dreams, and may your personal tree continue to flourish.